Chapter 3792. The disheveled old man controlled the endless killing array to surround the tribulation clouds in the sky. He wanted to refine the supreme heavenly tribulation. This scene frightened the countless experts outside the primogeniture mountain range. No one had ever done something so crazy. They actually wanted to refine the extreme path sovereign heavenly tribulation. This is crazy. Everyone was in disbelief. Rumble. The tribulation clouds retreated like the tide. The tribulation clouds turned into the power of the heavenly tribulation and gathered towards the figure in the middle. Gu Fei's heaven's incarnation had attracted the power of the entire heavenly tribulation. As such, he was the heavenly tribulation and the heavenly tribulation was him. There was no distinction between them. At this moment, Gu Fei was also gathering his power. The power of the nine paths was being forcefully guided over by him. The aura of the great Tao on his body continued to rise. The void around Gu Fei was vibrating. It was as though the entire world could not contain his ultimate martial physique. Buzz. At this moment, a deafening sound came from the sky. In the next moment, the entire world exploded. A figure swooped down from the sky, and the entire sky collapsed. What? Gu Fei lifted his head. Two rays of immortal divine light shot out from his eyes and pierced through the figure that swooped down from the sky. However, the two rays of divine light dissipated in the void when they came into contact with the mighty power. Roar! Without hesitation, Gu Fei soared into the sky and attacked the figure that swooped down from the sky. The ultimate battle had finally erupted. Roar! At the same time, the disheveled old man channeled the power of the formation Tao. Endless killing arrays came from all directions and sealed Gu Fei and the heavens incarnation together. In the sky above the ancestral mountain range, an incomparably huge ball formed by countless killing arrays appeared. A terrifying murderous aura erupted from the ball and the sky turned pale. The spectators outside the ancestral mountain range were shocked. Was this the attack of the supreme formation Tao? No one knew better than the wood race's progenitor just how powerful and terrifying an array Tao sovereign was. Under the astonished gazes of countless spectators, that giant ball actually started to devour the essence energy of the primogeniture mountain range. The array Tao sovereign actually wanted to draw upon the power of the primogeniture mountain range. In the next moment, all the energy in the world was drawn to the giant ball, and the power emanating from the giant ball kept increasing. At this moment, the disheveled old man had used all his trump cards as well. This heavenly tribulation was destined to shake the entire primogeniture realm. At this time, there were still experts who received the news rushing towards the primogeniture mountain range. There were extreme sovereigns constantly descending. In just a short period of time, the heavenly tribulation in the primogeniture mountain range had attracted countless extreme sovereigns. An obscure aura of the extreme path lingered between heaven and earth. No one knew how many supreme venerables had secretly arrived. At this moment, in the void sealed by the endless killing matrix, two figures were moving rapidly. Gu Fei was constantly being sent flying. He was actually being oppressed by his own incarnation of the heavenly way. It was as if he was fighting against himself. Damn it! The power of the nine Das surged from Gu Fei's body, causing a few bloody holes to appear on his body. However, these bloody holes were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. He stared at the incarnation of the heavenly way opposite him. It was a black-robed young man, another version of himself. Moreover, this incarnation of the heavenly way seemed to have no flaws. The power of the nine Das surged from the incarnation of the heavenly way. Without saying a word, the incarnation of the heavenly way disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was already above Gu Fei's head and stomped down on his head. Rumble. The moment the incarnation of the heavenly way stomped down with his right foot, a deafening sound rang out in the void, as though a volcano was erupting. The void beneath the incarnation of the heavenly way's right foot collapsed, crumbled, and was annihilated. This was the 8 steps extreme speed that Gu Fei had cultivated. The power displayed by the incarnation of the heavenly way seemed to be much stronger than when he himself displayed it. 8 steps, 8 kills. This was the first step. Bang! Gu Fei swung his fist to meet the attack. With a muffled sound, his fist collided with a huge foot that came down from the sky. Kill. There was no way out for Gu Fei. Only by successfully passing the tribulation could he be reborn and transform into an extreme path body. 9 rays of sword light shot out from his body, emitting a chilling sword chi that caused the surrounding temperature to drop rapidly. The moment the 9 rays of sword light slashed at Gu Fei's incarnation of the Heavenly Way, they were all shattered. The incarnation of the Heavenly Way was not harmed in the slightest. However, at this moment, 9 rays of sword light also burst out from the incarnation of the Heavenly Way. In the next moment, the 2 powers of the sword way collided. In an instant, the void was filled with rays of sword light, and the exploding power of the sword way was enough to move even an extreme path supreme being. Gu Fei was sent flying again. At this time, he channeled the mysterious art with all his might, and the power of the 9 das burst out again. The injuries on his body healed in an instant, and he was like a cockroach that could not be killed. 9 das is 1, kill. Gu Fei did not hesitate. The power of the 9 das gathered, and the 9 powers of the Great Path clashed with each other. This way, the power of the 9 das soared. Go! Gu Fei waved his right hand, and a ray of divine light immediately rushed out, directly piercing the body of the incarnation of the Heavenly Way. The recovery speed of the incarnation of the Heavenly Way was also very shocking. The bloody hole in the incarnation's chest quickly healed. This won't do. As Gu Fei fought with his incarnation of the Heavenly Way, he was thinking about how to defeat himself, surpass himself, and make the ultimate leap to become an extreme path supreme being. However, his 9th tribulation was the tribulation of the self. In front of his incarnation of the Heavenly Way, he had no secrets to hide. If he wanted to defeat himself and surpass himself, he had to create a cultivation method that completely belonged to him. The cultivation methods created by others belonged to them. Gu Fei tried to combine the 9 das as one. He thought of the primordial world powerhouse from before. He only cultivated 1 Tao, but he was almost invincible in the universe. Rumble. A huge hand appeared between the heavens and the earth, directly slapping at Gu Fei. Violent energy waves erupted from the hand, directly shaking the void. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei's pupils involuntarily contracted. The battle skill that the other party displayed was the heaven-covering palm. With one hand covering the sky, a supreme energy wave enveloped the surroundings. Chapter 37-93. Gu Fei's 9th tribulation of the extreme Tao was the tribulation of self. To put it bluntly, the so-called tribulation of self was to beat oneself up. Only the most heaven-defying tribulation transcenders could trigger such a tribulation. That was because at this point, even the heavenly Tao could not do anything to the tribulation transcenders and could only let them beat themselves up. One had to know that the strongest enemy of the tribulation transcenders was themselves. Since ancient times, who could surpass themselves? Only by surpassing oneself could one be invincible. Boom! At this moment, in the void sealed by the endless killing arrays, the 2 huge hands of primordial chaos collided. A terrifying sound wave spread out and shook the entire void of the array formation. At this moment, the disheveled old man had arrived outside the array formation. This array formation was different from the one he had conjured previously. The array formation sealed by countless killing arrays was not the void created by the disheveled old man. The disheveled old man sat cross-legged on the gigantic ball formed by the countless arrays and emitted the power of Array Tao. At this moment, the millions of killing arrays were under his control. The power of Array Tao triggered the essence chi of the primogeniture mountain range and actually cut off the connection between Gu Fei's Heavenly Tao incarnation and the Heavenly Tao. In other words, the Heavenly Tao incarnation sealed in the gigantic ball could not activate the power of Heavenly Tao. In other words, the disheveled old man had used his own power of Array Tao to cut off the source of the Heavenly Tao incarnation's power. At this moment, in the void sealed by the disheveled old man's killing arrays, 2 supreme figures were moving rapidly. Gu Fei was engaged in a fierce battle with the Heavenly Tao incarnation. As the saying went, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will emerge victorious in every battle. The heavenly Tao incarnation Gu Fei was just like Gu Fei himself. Everything that Gu Fei knew, the heavenly Tao Gu Fei also knew. In that case, this ultimate battle was destined to be an extremely tragic one. Various martial arts and battle techniques surged from the two figures. The void was riddled with holes as chaotic qi seeped out from the shattered void. Five-element fist. Gu Fei roared out furiously. He directly used the battle skill of the five elements that he had created. The power of the five elements immediately surged from his body, gathering on his fist. Boom! Gu Fei punched out, and a dazzling golden light immediately lit up the dark void. The entire void that was enveloped by the killing formation shook violently, as though it could collapse at any time. This was the metal element fist. The force of the metal element fist burst forth from Gu Fei's fist. His right fist seemed to have turned into a golden sun, and even the disheveled old man's array was shaken. However, the heavenly Tao incarnation opposite Gu Fei also threw a punch at him. The heavenly Tao incarnation's fist was also imbued with the strongest metal element fist force. This was definitely the rhythm of a tit-for-tat battle. Boom! The two fists collided in an instant, causing the void to explode. Terrifying metal elemental power erupted. This unyielding and powerful force tore the void apart and crushed everything. This power seemed to be able to crush everything. The two figures separated in an instant, but in the next moment, they charged at each other again. Gu Fei directly struck out with the earth element fist. In an instant, the entire array space was filled with grayish earth essence qi. The heavy earth element power seemed to be able to suppress and kill all living things. The countless killing formations that sealed the huge space were operating wildly, blocking the mighty earth element fist force and then refining and devouring it. The disheveled old man was reaping the benefits. His killing formation was devouring the essence qi from all directions, and the power gathered by the killing formation was constantly increasing. Meanwhile, the battle between Gu Fei and the heavenly Tao incarnation was an evenly matched battle. In the center of the explosion of the earth element power, the fists of the two powerhouses collided. In the next moment, the fists of the two powerhouses shattered, followed by the forearms, and then the entire arms. Gu Fei snorted coldly and flew backward. His entire right arm had turned into flying ashes. The heavenly Tao incarnation's right arm also dissipated in the void. At the same time, he flew backward. No one could gain any advantage from this move. At this time, above the sound of wind and thunder came from Gu Fei's body. The qi and blood in his body were vast and mighty like the surging sea. Immortal Tao patterns emerged and intertwined in his muscles, bones, and flesh. The Tao patterns in his body surged towards his broken arm, and the flesh, bones, and tendons grew rapidly. First, it was the bones, then the tendons, and then the flesh. A new arm grew out from his body in an instant. The skin and flesh of the arm were crystal clear like immortal divine jade. Countless Tao patterns could be vaguely seen under the skin, and the entire arm was flowing with the divine light of the great path. Gu Fei's newly grown right arm seemed to be stronger than his previous right arm, and it was more compatible with the great path. His entire right arm was imprinted with countless Tao patterns both inside and out. This realm was already the realm where the Tao and himself were one. Extreme supremacy was at the extreme of the Tao. The Tao and himself were one, immortal and indestructible. Even if one's primordial spirit were to dissipate, the supreme body would remain immortal and indestructible. To put it bluntly, even if the world was destroyed, the supreme body of an extreme supremacy would not be destroyed. At this time, the heavenly Tao incarnation had also recovered and struck out at Gu Fei with the water element fist. Immediately, a raging wave appeared in front of Gu Fei and surged towards him. This punch could definitely kill any quasi-supremacy. Even an unparalleled powerhouse at the peak of the quasi-supremacy would be crushed into dust by the raging wave. Die! In the face of such a big move, Gu Fei's battle clothes were like a rainbow, and the battle blood in his body was burning. He was born to be a god of war, and the stronger the opponent, the stronger he became. He firmly believed that man could conquer nature. After all, The heavenly Tao incarnation was not his real self, and there would always be flaws. In Gu Fei's view, he was not an invincible existence. Some people thought that they absolutely could not defeat themselves, but that was because they were too unconfident. They had already admitted defeat before the battle even started. However, Gu Fei was different. Whether it was the heavenly Tao or himself, he would destroy both with one punch. The belief that he was invincible was deeply rooted in the depths of his soul and could not be shaken. In the next moment, Gu Fei struck out with the fire element fist. Water and fire restrained each other. Water could subdue fire, but fire could also evaporate water. As soon as the fire element fist was executed, monstrous divine fire immediately burned forward, and the void was constantly distorted by the heat. In just an instant, the two powers of water and fire collided together. Endless mist rose and filled every inch of the void. The two powers of water and fire canceled each other out, and neither could suppress the other. Chapter 3794. I'm Invincible. Gu Fei was extremely domineering as he clashed head-on with the heavenly Tao clone. The violent power of the five elements erupted from his fists and shook the void. Gu Fei's heavenly Tao clone was equally domineering and invincible. Rumble. In the void sealed by the disheveled old man's killing formation, countless gigantic trees collided and let out deafening sounds as countless killing formations operated frantically. This lunatic, although the disheveled old man sat cross-legged on the gigantic ball formed by countless killing formations, he could sense everything that was happening within the gigantic ball. At this moment, Gu Fei and his heavenly Tao clone were engaged in an earth-shattering battle. Both of them struck out with the five elements fist. The two wood element fist forces collided wildly and canceled each other out. However, the mighty energy waves that were released were extremely powerful. This level of combat strength was already infinitely close to that of an extreme supremacy. In fact, it even possessed some of the combat strength of a supreme supremacy. Gu Fei was only one step away from becoming an extreme supremacy. An aura of supremacy that even quasi-supremacies would feel their hearts palpitating began to emerge from his body. This was the true aura of the extreme Tao. Even the disheveled old man's power of formation could not completely isolate this aura. What's that person's ninth tribulation? At this moment, some extreme supremacies were conversing outside the primogeniture mountain range. The disheveled old man had sealed the entire void with countless killing formations. Even those extreme supremacies outside did not know what was happening within the gigantic ball. I only know that the most powerful heavenly tribulation is the primordial tribulation. Could there really be a heavenly tribulation that's even more terrifying than the primordial tribulation? An extreme supremacy exclaimed, "Oomph, you guys are still too young." At this moment, an extremely old voice sounded. It was that mysterious old man who could not be any older. The old man stood in the void and trembled. He held an extremely ordinary wooden stick in his hand and looked like he could be blown over by a gust of wind. However, it was precisely because this old man did not have any aura that an expert should have and looked just like an ordinary old man that those extreme supremacies were extremely fearful of. This old man actually said that the extreme grade supremes present were too young. This made the quasi-supremes who heard this quite frightened. One must know that they were extreme supremes. The primogenitor's realm had existed for countless years, far more ancient than any of the worlds in the universe. The number of extreme Tao supremes that appeared in the primogenitor realm was more than that of any other world. Even in the primogenitor realm, it wasn't easy for an extreme Tao sovereign to appear. These extreme Tao sovereigns were the primogenitors of their races and had lived for countless years. Because the primogenitor realm needed at least hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years, to give birth to a sovereign. A sovereign represented an era. The ancestral realm had never had two extreme Tao sovereigns appear at the same time. One had to know that every time an extreme grade sovereign was born, the primogenitor realm's grand Tao of heaven and earth would be greatly impacted, and it would take hundreds of thousands of years for it to recover. Only after the grand Tao of heaven and earth recovered, peak-level quasi-supremes could once again trigger the extreme grade sovereign's heavenly tribulation. It was absolutely impossible to become an extreme-grade sovereign without going through a tribulation. This was because the Grand Tao of Heaven and Human Tao of Heaven and Human Tao could transform the Grand Tao of Heaven and Earth into a flawless Grand Tao. Even the youngest extreme-grade sovereign had lived for at least 100 years. This old man actually said that the extreme-grade sovereigns present were too young. Could this old man be a super antique? Old man, what did you say? A blurry figure in the distance suddenly opened his eyes and stared at the old man. His gaze directly turned into solid, heavenly swords that pierced towards the old man. This was the attack of an extreme-grade supreme being who was unwilling to reveal his true identity. This kind of existence could unleash an ultimate move that could destroy the heavens and earth with just a thought. However, the old man acted as if he didn't see the heavenly swords piercing him. He didn't dodge at all and allowed the two extreme-grade sword lights to pierce his body. However, in the next moment, a shocking scene appeared. The two extreme-grade sword lights actually disappeared the moment they pierced the old man. It was as if the old man's body had devoured them. What? The surrounding extreme-grade sovereigns couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this. This old man wasn't simple indeed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have dared to come here and completely ignored the pressure emitted from their bodies. Young man, didn't your parents teach you to respect the elderly? The old man raised his head and glanced at the blurry figure in the distance. A glint flashed in the depths of his turbid eyes. The extreme-grade sovereign felt his scalp go numb when he saw the old man's gaze. He immediately turned around and left. The old man didn't say anything else. Instead, he looked at the giant ball in the primogeniture mountain range again. At this moment, countless formation runes appeared on the giant ball. One after another, killing formations emerged continuously. The ancient formation diagram emitted a terrifying murderous aura. At this moment, the surrounding extreme-grade sovereigns looked at the old man differently. The mysterious old man seemed to have sensed something all of a sudden. A strange expression appeared on his face. In the next moment, the old man disappeared into the void, as if he had vanished into thin air. The surrounding extreme-grade sovereigns couldn't tell how the old man had left or where he had gone. The extreme-grade sovereigns were a little dumbfounded. Could this old man actually be in existence stronger than them? One must know that there was a difference in strength between extreme-grade sovereigns. The extreme-grade realm could be divided into 4 major realms: initial level, intermediate level, greater level, and peak level. Most of the extreme-grade sovereigns present were at initial level. The Wood Clan's progenitor was at intermediate level. There was no greater level supreme at greater level. Extreme-grade sovereigns at the peak level were as rare as phoenix feathers and Chelan horns. They rarely appeared. Could this fella actually be in existence at the peak level? The Wood Clan's progenitor thought. At this moment, the battle between Gu Fei and the heavenly Tao incarnation had reached the most critical juncture in the disheveled old man's array space. Gu Fei was evolving his great Tao. Rumble. The power of the 5 elements surged around Gu Fei. It was as if 5 worlds had appeared around him. Each ball of divine light seemed to be nurturing a world. Come in. Gu Fei evolved the great Tao of the 5 elements to the extreme. The 5 balls of divine light around him fused together and evolved the Avalon of 5 elements. It swallowed the heavenly Tao incarnation into the Avalon of 5 elements. The extreme of Tao could split the heavens. Chapter 3795. In the void sealed by the disheveled old man's formation Tao, Gu Fei used the great Tao of 5 elements to create an Avalon of 5 elements and kept his heavenly Tao incarnation in it. At the peak of Tao, one could split open the sky and earth. At Gu Fei's level of cultivation, splitting open the sky and earth was just a matter of thought. It was not difficult at all. However, it was not an easy task to create a heaven and earth that was comparable to a flawless heaven and earth. One had to know that even the ancient Buddhist Lord failed in his attempt to create the 6 paths of reincarnation. It was obvious that even an extreme supremacy would find it difficult to create a perfect heaven and earth. The Avalon of 5 elements that Gu Fei created was not a nearly flawless heaven and earth. It was just a void that did not even have the laws of heaven and earth. However, In the Avalon of 5 elements that Gu Fei created, he was the supreme ruler. This was because every inch of the void was filled with the power of the 5 elements. At this moment, Gu Fei's heavenly Tao incarnation stood in the center of the Avalon of 5 elements. The power of the 5 elements from all directions rushed towards the heavenly Tao incarnation. Faced with Gu Fei's killer move, the heavenly Tao incarnation remained indifferent. There was not a trace of emotion on his face. With a shake of his body, a ball of 5 elements Tao light emerged from his body and spread in all directions. Rumble. The void trembled as another world appeared around the heavenly Tao incarnation. The heavenly Tao incarnation was also splitting open the sky. Wherever the ball of 5 elements Tao light passed, the power of the 5 elements that came towards it dissipated into nothingness. The heavenly Tao incarnation had actually created another world within the Avalon of 5 elements that Gu Fei had created, blocking Gu Fei's power of the 5 elements. I don't believe it. Seeing this, Gu Fei immediately attacked with all his might. The power of the Avalon of 5 elements soared to its limit in an instant. The power of the Avalon of 5 elements was highly concentrated, and all of it rushed towards the heavenly Tao incarnation to destroy it. The entire Avalon of 5 elements was shrinking rapidly. This kind of power was definitely enough to kill a peak quasi-supreme being. However, the heavenly Tao incarnation had also created the Avalon of 5 elements and evolved the great Tao of 5 elements. It was exactly the same as Gu Fei's Avalon of 5 elements, even the energy waves. The two forces of the 5 elements kept colliding and canceling each other out. Spatial cracks that looked like black lightning kept appearing in the void. Stinking brat, quickly blast that guy into pieces for your father. At this moment, the disheveled old man's voice rang out in Gu Fei's mind. Cut the crap, hurry up and give me some power. Gu Fei roared. Give you strength, my A**s. I can't even protect myself. Do you think that it's easy to sever the connection between the incarnation of the heaven's will and the heaven's will? The disheveled old man replied nonchalantly. When Gu Fei heard this, he did not say anything. This was the truth. The disheveled old man was also under immense pressure. One must know that interfering with the heavens' will was definitely not an easy task. Interfering with the heavens' will was an extremely dangerous task. Even with the disheveled old man's abilities, he could only barely do it. Furthermore, he could not sever the connection between the heavens' will and the incarnation of the heavens' will forever. Kill. Gu Fei attacked with all his might. In the next moment, the void between the two powerful beings was annihilated, and the two figures charged into the shattered void. The power of the 5 elements collided. This was definitely a terrifying battle that could destroy the world. Fortunately, the disheveled old man had used the power of the array Tao to seal both Gu Fei and the incarnation of the heavens' will in the void. Otherwise, if the 5 elements were to spread out, it would be disastrous. Yin-Yang reincarnation determines life and death. With a roar, the yin-yang force exploded from Gu Fei's body. In his left hand was a divine moon and in his right a divine Sunday. With a circle of his hands, a Tai Chi yin-yang Tao diagram immediately emerged in front of him. Buzz. The void rumbled as the power of yin and yang exploded, causing the entire void to shake violently. Countless runes appeared in the void, blocking the power that was bursting out. At this moment, a divine sun and a divine moon seemed to have appeared in the void. The power of yin and yang intertwined, displaying the power of yin and yang to the extreme. The terrifying aura even spread out from the void of the formation, causing the people outside the ancestral mountain range to be dumbfounded. This time, the incarnation of the heavens' will was destroyed by the power of yin and yang. However, Gu Fei could not feel happy at all. At the next moment, a blurry figure suddenly appeared in the void without any warning. What? Gu Fei stared at the figure that walked out of the void. Although he had expected that the incarnation of the heavens' will would not be defeated so easily, he did not expect that the incarnation of the heavens' will would be defeated so easily. The secret skill of emergence? At this moment, Gu Fei felt a headache coming on. The incarnation of the heavens' will was his own incarnation of the heavens' will. This incarnation had mastered all of his cultivation methods and secret skills. The power of the secret skill of emergence, one of the 9 secrets of immortality, was definitely a secret skill of immortality. Even if one's spirit was destroyed, it could be reconstructed and reborn. I'd like to see how many times you can be reborn. Gu Fei was both shocked and furious. He disappeared in the next moment and appeared in front of the incarnation of the heaven's will. Bam! Without any suspense, Gu Fei simply threw a punch and blasted the incarnation of the heavens will once again. Gu Fei comprehended many things while fighting against the incarnation of the heaven's will of the primordial great path. His battle skills began to change, becoming simple and direct. The incarnation of the heavens will soon reappeared in the void and recovered in an instant. Gu Fei could not help but be moved when he saw this. Kill. Gu Fei did not hesitate. It was not easy for him to gain the upper hand, so he was naturally not going to let go of such a rare opportunity. Bam! The incarnation of the heavens will exploded once again, turning into specks of divine light that dissipated in the void. Gu Fei's great Tao was constantly being perfected, metamorphosing towards the flawless great Tao. At this moment, Gu Fei was getting stronger as he fought. Every time he blasted the incarnation of the heaven's will, the power of the great Tao within his body grew stronger. In the end, the entire world was trembling. This was because the disheveled old man had used the power of the Tao of formation to isolate the connection between the heaven's will and the incarnation of the heaven's will. In other words, the heaven's will incarnation would not be able to obtain any spiritual chi of the world within the disheveled old man's formation. Without the support of the follow-up power, even the incarnation of the heavens will would not be able to withstand it. The power of the incarnation of the heavens will was constantly weakening, which surprised and delighted Gu Fei. As long as he could get rid of the incarnation of the heaven's will, he would be able to make the ultimate leap and become an invincible existence in the universe. However, at this moment, he did not forget to evolve his own Tao. The Tao of others belonged to them, but the Tao that truly belonged to him had to be cultivated painstakingly. In this world, there was no such thing as becoming an expert without hard work. In order to obtain great power, a certain price had to be paid. The 9 types of great Tao were constantly evolving in Gu Fei's body. 9 supreme Taos was not the limit. He wanted to go from complexity to simplicity, just like the supremacy of primordial chaos. Even though he only cultivated 1 Tao, he was able to suppress tens of thousands of Taos. At this moment, Gu Fei was like a furnace that could smelt tens of thousands of Taos. The 9 types of great Tao intertwined, emitting an extremely terrifying aura of the great Tao. Ever since he started cultivating, he had practiced countless battle skills, including the 9 esoterics of the immortal path, martial path battle skills, and the martial progenitor's succession. These cultivation techniques, battle skills, and secret techniques had become obstacles that stopped him from making the ultimate leap. Forget other Tao and create my own, Gu Fei muttered to himself. He wanted to forget all the battle techniques of others and create the most suitable one for himself. However, this was not something that could be done in a short period of time. Rumble. A thunderous rumble came from within Gu Fei's body. At this moment, countless cultivation techniques and secret techniques appeared in his mind. The ultimate transformation. Destroy all other cultivation techniques and create your own. Gu Fei was multitasking. While evolving his own Tao, he was also attacking the incarnation of the heaven's will. Boom! Another punch was thrown. This time, the incarnation took a long time to reappear in the void. Gu Fei never imagined that his seemingly casual punch could injure the incarnation of the heaven's will. This punch seemed to contain the power of samsara, the Tao of yin and yang, and an invincible aura. This punch seemed to surpass the 5 elements. It broke through yin and yang, broke through samsara, and broke through all limits. Although this was only a vague fist intent, the power it displayed made Gu Fei's heart palpitate. Breaking through limits. Let's call this punch the breaking extremity fist. The breaking extremity fist was a punch that broke through limits. Again, Gu Fei was pleasantly surprised. He threw another punch. This time, the fist intent that broke through all limits emerged again. Without any suspense, the incarnation of the heavens will was blown up again. Although it was only a punch, it could break through all magical techniques. If Gu Fei could finally perfect this fist intent, he could probably break through the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao with a single punch. Haha, Gu Fei laughed out loud. He only threw one punch, but the fist intent of the breaking extremity fist gradually became clear in his mind. In the face of this punch, all divine abilities and spells were trash. At this moment, Gu Fei had already forgotten about all other cultivation techniques and only remembered this punch. In Gu Fei's eyes, this was the only battle technique he needed. It was an invincible battle technique. This punch could destroy everything. Even the Ascension secret technique could not dissolve this fist intent. Roar! It was unknown how many times the heavenly Tao incarnation had been blasted by Gu Fei. However, at this moment, the heavenly Tao incarnation actually melded into the void, penetrated the layers of killing formations, and charged out of the disheveled old man's formation. What? The anti-emptiness secret technique? Gu Fei could not help but be shocked when he saw this. Only the anti-emptiness secret technique of the 9 secrets of the immortal Tao could allow the incarnation to escape. This was something that even he did not expect. Chapter 3796. Even the disheveled old man, a god of the mountain river cauldron that had existed for countless years, had to admit that the anti-void secret technique was truly heaven-defying. Gu Fei's heaven's incarnation had actually used the anti-void secret technique and charged out of the disheveled old man's array formation, arriving outside. As soon as the heaven's incarnation appeared outside, a terrifying commotion came from the depths of the sky. Everyone outside the primordial mountain range raised their heads in shock. The next moment, boundless heaven Tao energy descended from the sky and entered the body of Gu Fei's heaven's incarnation. In the next moment, the blurry figure underwent an unbelievable transformation. Boundless heaven Tao energy interweaved in his body, rapidly forming bones, tendons, and finally flesh. This is heaven-defying. At this moment, the disheveled old man, who was sitting cross-legged on the giant ball formed by countless array formations, couldn't help but be astonished. The heavens will was trying to create a Gu Fei. The disheveled old man had existed for countless years and had never encountered something like this. At this moment, although the power of the heavens tribulation had already gathered on Gu Fei's heavens incarnation, the people outside the primordial mountain range still couldn't see anything inside. The power of the heavens Tao was still isolating everything. When the people outside the primordial mountain range looked inside, they could only see a blurry patch of gray. It was the same for Supreme Venerables. How is this possible? At this moment, Gu Fei had also rushed out of the disheveled old man's array formation. When he saw this shocking scene, he was also dumbfounded and in disbelief. Soon, a Gu Fei that seemed to have gathered all Daos appeared in the world. Boundless heaven Tao energy erupted from his body. Although it wasn't intense, it gave off an extremely terrifying pressure. If it was any other quasi-venerables, just the aura from this Gu Fei alone would be enough to kill them. Brat, this has already exceeded my knowledge. You'll have to rely on yourself, said the disheveled old man helplessly. What? Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. Even the disheveled old man who had existed for countless years had never seen something like this. You are very strong, but it is impossible for you to succeed. Right at this moment, an extremely cold voice resounded. The Gu Fei created by the heavens Tao was actually staring at Gu Fei as he spoke. The tone of the heavenly Tao Gu Fei did not carry a trace of emotion. It was incomparably cold. This was the embodiment of the heavenly Tao's will. Hee, is that so? Gu Fei smiled disapprovingly. He looked at the will of heaven opposite him, but the eyes of Gu Fei were extremely bright, like twinkling stars. An unprecedentedly powerful battle intent surged out from Gu Fei's body. Swoosh! At that moment, the heavenly Tao Gu Fei made his move. He disappeared into the void. Gu Fei snorted coldly and disappeared into the void. Boom! Bam! Muffled crashing sounds constantly rang out in the void. The entire world shook along with these sounds. It was as if an invisible hammer was pounding on the world. At the next moment, black holes appeared in the void. Those were empty spaces formed by the shattering of the void by a powerful force. The speed of the two experts was so fast that even the disheveled old man could not see their shadows. Gu Fei was fighting with his Heaven's Dao body. At this moment, he had almost forgotten all his battle skills, secret skills, and mystiques. He was only fighting based on his intuition. This was an instinct of a warrior, an innate battle instinct. Gu Fei was refining the fist intent of the extremity breaker fist. He only had one punch. No matter what battle skills the Heaven's Dao body used, Gu Fei only had one punch. One punch could break through all mystiques. Any battle skills or mystiques could not withstand a single blow from this punch. Wong. At this moment, the void trembled. The power of 9 great Dao exploded from the Heaven's Dao body. The Heaven's Dao body had used 9 secret skills at the same time. That's right, 9 secret skills of the immortal path. Even Gu Fei himself had not used all 9 secret skills of the immortal path at the same time. However, Gu Fei's Heaven's Dao body used the power of the heavenly Dao to use all 9 secret skills of the immortal path at the same time. Moreover, the 9 powers of the immortal path fused together in an instant. A power that surpassed the power of the 9 secrets of the immortal path immediately exploded from the Heaven's Dao body. The 9 secrets fused together and sublimated. The power of the secret skills of the immortal path seemed to have surpassed everything. What? Gu Fei could not help but feel shocked when he sensed the terrifying power that erupted from the Heaven's Dao body. This guy is really heaven-defying. Amazing, my brother. Who cares about the immortal path or heavenly Dao? You're all trash before my fist. I'll blow you all up with one punch. Gu Fei recovered in an instant. His invincible aura burst forth. So what if the opponent's power surpassed the 9 secrets? My power can surpass the 9 secrets too. The Heaven's Dao body did not say anything. He pushed his hands forward. A ball of immortal path light immediately appeared on his hands and blasted at Gu Fei. The ball of immortal path light condensed the power of the 9 secrets. Its speed was unimaginable, and it arrived in front of Gu Fei in an instant. Gu Fei's extremity-shattering fist was only halfway through when the ball of divine light collided with him. He was instantly engulfed by the divine light. Gu Fei's entire body seemed to have been frozen in place. He could not move at all. Then, he saw the muscles on his arms melt and turn into nothingness. This power was too terrifying. It was even more terrifying than the Wu secret. The combination of the 9 secrets seemed to be able to destroy everything in the world. Even an extreme path supreme would most likely die if struck by this move. Even though Gu Fei had cultivated the Ascension secret technique, the power of the Ascension secret technique could not compete with the power that surpassed the 9 secrets. I'm invincible, Gu Fei shouted in his heart. At this critical moment of life and death, he finally grasped a hint of the extremity-shattering fist. In the next moment, the flesh and blood on his body instantly regenerated. Boom! His fist shook violently. The entire ball of divine light shook violently. Countless immortal path secret patterns were directly shattered by the power that erupted from his fist. One punch to break the limit. Gu Fei's fist slowly punched out. The power of the extremity-shattering fist continued to soar. The moment he punched out, the terrifying ball of divine light that enveloped him was directly shattered. He actually managed to destroy the super-powerful power of the 9 secrets with a single punch. Even he himself could not believe it. Chapter 3797. Breaking through the limits with one's fist was Gu Fei's lifelong pursuit. All of his strength was gathered in that one punch. That one punch directly crushed the power of the 9 secrets into one. At this moment, Gu Fei finally comprehended an invincible battle skill that belonged to him. To him, a single punch was enough. No other cultivation method or battle skill could compare to a single punch of his. After refining all sorts of battle skills and divine powers, Gu Fei was only left with this one punch. After crushing the power of the 9 secrets into one with one punch, the invincible fist force continued surging towards the body of Heaven's Way opposite him. In the next moment, the body of Heaven's Way collapsed in the void. The Heavenly Way had created a Gu Fei with flesh and blood to fight against Gu Fei. The strength of the body of Heaven's Way was undeniable. However, it was a pity that Gu Fei had become even stronger. As the body of Heaven's Way collapsed, Gu Fei reached out with his right hand and grabbed the will of Heaven's Way that erupted after the body of Heaven's Way collapsed. Without hesitation, Gu Fei began to refine the will of Heaven's Way, using the power of Heaven's Way to replenish his lacking Tao. Soon, the Taoist rhyme that came from the Heaven's Way was refined into Gu Fei's body. In the next moment, the blurry Tao pattern in his body lit up. The ninth Tao pattern seemed to have come to life. Be careful. Just as Gu Fei was comprehending the invincible Tao, the disheveled old man's voice suddenly rang in his mind. In the next moment, a fist had already landed on Gu Fei's back. A series of sounds of bones breaking could be heard from his back. His entire spine had been broken into countless pieces. A mouthful of blood surged up his throat, but Gu Fei forcefully swallowed it back down. At that moment, the sound of wind and thunder could be heard from Gu Fei's body. The broken spine was healing rapidly. In an instant, he would be back to his peak condition. At this moment, the heavenly body that had been smashed into pieces by Gu Fei made its move. The body of the heavenly path could not be destroyed so easily. One had to know that the body of the heavenly path was created by the heavenly path. It was a born Taoist body that could refine all das. Kill. Gu Fei did not hesitate and directly attacked. He raised his right hand, clenched his fist, and directly punched out. Boom. The void shook, and a transparent ripple could be seen with the naked eye erupting from Gu Fei's fist. With yet another punch, the power of breaking extremities burst forth from Gu Fei's fist, shaking the void. Even the disheveled old man who was watching from the sidelines was almost affected. Without any suspense, under Gu Fei's powerful punch, the various secret techniques and killing moves unleashed by the Heavenly Way avatar were directly shattered by his punch. Especially the 9 secrets of immortal Tao. Bam! With a muffled sound, Gu Fei's body of the heavenly path was once again blasted by himself, turning into a cloud of blood mist. However, the body of the heavenly path instantly appeared in the world again. With a raise of its hand, a terrifying bolt of lightning shot towards Gu Fei's head. Gu Fei laughed and let the bolt of lightning hit him. In the next moment, the bolt of lightning disappeared in an instant, as if it had never appeared in the first place. At the same time, the body of the heavenly path waved its hand, and an invisible wind immediately spread from its sleeves, turning into invisible wind blades that slashed towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei still did not dodge and let the wind blades hit him. Although the wind blades were powerful and could easily kill a quasi-supreme, they were a joke in front of him. At this moment, Gu Fei's martial body seemed to have turned into a bottomless pit, devouring all the power around it. The wind blades that were slashing towards him directly disappeared without a trace. An extreme aura spread from Gu Fei's body. He already had 1 foot in the supreme realm and was about to successfully become an extreme supremacy. However, the heavenly way would not let him become an extreme supremacy so easily. If 1 punch isn't enough, then I'll use 10 punches. If 10 punches aren't enough, then I'll use 100 punches. Let's see how many punches you can take from me. Gu Fei stared at the figure in front of him and roared crazily. He raised his hand and threw another punch. The power of breaking the limit erupted, and Gu Fei's body of the heavenly way was once again blasted apart. At this time, Gu Fei had no intention of stopping. When his body of the heavenly way appeared again, he threw another punch and directly blasted it apart. The body of the heavenly way was like an undying cockroach. It stubbornly reassembled its physical body again and continued to attack Gu Fei. However, at this time, Gu Fei realized that the power of the body of the heavenly way was weakening. The body of the heavenly way was not invincible. I'll use you to practice my punches. Gu Fei knew that although he had comprehended the power of breaking the limit, it was only in its embryonic form. If he truly grasped this power, even the body of the heavenly way would not be able to take a punch from him. Therefore, the body of the heavenly way tragically became Gu Fei's human-shaped punching bag. The disheveled old man looked at this scene in shock. He was speechless. Gu Fei's punching technique was simply too powerful. It could actually destroy the body of the heavenly way created by the heavenly way. The 9 powers of the great Tao in Gu Fei's body intertwined and fused, and the power that erupted was so strong that it made one's heart palpitate. At this time, everything in Gu Fei's body was transforming. He was thinking of a perfect transformation. 9 Das is 1, invincible in the world. He did not want to be the paragon of the 9 Das. Even a single paragon could be invincible in the world. This was something that Gu Fei had comprehended from the heavenly Dao brand of the supreme of primordial chaos. One had to admit that Gu Fei was truly a natural-born martial artist. There were many things that he could naturally comprehend. 9 Das is 1, breaking through the limit. This was Gu Fei's goal. However, it was too difficult to do so. Only a small portion of it had fused together. But this was already shocking enough. What is this guy doing? The disheveled old man couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this scene. The paragon of the 9 Daos was an invincible existence. Why was Gu Fei trying to fuse all 9 Daos as one? At this time, Gu Fei kept on blasting his body of the heavenly way. He had lost count of the number of punches he had thrown out. He only stopped when the body of the heavenly way could no longer coalesce. I have invincibility, breaking the limit with punches. Gu Fei roared and punched towards the heavens. The power of the 9 Daos as one erupted from his fist. Rumble. The entire heavens suffered a huge impact. Heaven and earth seemed to be on the brink of destruction. At the end of the heavens, even the heavenly way lost its color. At the same time, a seal appeared from the blood mist formed by the body of the heavenly way. It then shot up into the sky and returned to the heavenly way. At this moment, the 9 Daos in Gu Fei's body transformed into a perfect state. There were no more flaws. A paragon of the 9 Daos was born. To Gu Fei, this was just the beginning. The paragon of the 9 Daos was not the limit. Chapter 3798. When Gu Fei became an extreme grade supreme, the ancestral land of Yingtian sect was filled with the smell of blood. From the entrance of the ancestral land all the way to Yingtian Ancestral Mountain, there were corpses everywhere. Roar. An angry roar came from the top of Yingtian Ancestral Mountain, like the roar of an angry dragon. The sound shook the entire mountain, and a powerful wave of quasi-supreme power spread from the top of the ancestral mountain. At the top of the ancestral mountain, a figure was directly blasted into a cloud of blood mist, and his body and soul were instantly destroyed. Old Ancestor Yingtian, you're courting death. An angry roar came from the nearby Yingtian Ancestral Palace. 4 figures rushed out of the palace at the same time, and the powerful aura of Quasi-Supreme instantly filled every inch of the void. The 4 experts who rushed out of the Yingtian Ancestral Palace were the 4 sect masters who had just been promoted by Mu Jinghong. They were the new palace master of 10 Absolute Palace, the new sect master of Yingtian Sect, the new sect master of Qingyan Path, and the new sect master of Wutian Sect. Each of the 4 sect masters was a quasi-supreme existence. Even Mu Jinghong would have a headache if the 4 experts attacked at the same time. Ha ha ha, we still don't know who's looking for. Old Ancestor Yingtian stood at the top of the ancestral mountain and looked up at the 4 experts who were rushing towards him. He laughed and said with a trace of disdain on his face, "Boasting shamelessly, die." The new sect master of Wutian Sect directly displayed his strongest move. He stretched out his right hand, and a ball of divine light immediately emerged from his palm. Countless Dao patterns lingered and intertwined on the ball of divine light. Whoosh! The new sect master of Wutian Sect shook his right hand, and the ball of divine light in his hand immediately blasted towards Old Ancestor Yingtian at an extremely fast speed. Oomph! Old Ancestor Yingtian pushed his feet off the ground, and his whole body immediately soared into the sky. The ball of divine light blasted where Old Ancestor Yingtian originally stood. The fist-sized divine light exploded, and the entire mountain was shrouded in dust. The entire top of Yingtian Ancestral Mountain was shaved off. The disciples of Yingtian Sect and the experts of the other sects were shocked when they saw this scene. The battle prowess of the new leader of the Wutian Sect was too shocking. One had to know that the Yingtian Ancestral Mountain was no ordinary place. This was the Yingtian Ancestral Land, the place where the Azure Dragon spat out the pearl. That pearl had been refined by the Yingtian Ancestor for tens of thousands of years. Ordinary Tao artifacts would not be able to damage this ancestor mountain at all. At this moment, the newly appointed Green Cloud Pathmaster made his move. He roared furiously, and 9 rays of light shot out from his body. Within each ray of light was a divine sword. 9 swords flying fairy, kill. The new Green Cloud Path mainly cultivated the way of the sword and was a sword quasi-sovereign. As soon as he made his move, the entire void was immediately filled with sword chi ripples that were powerful to the point of making one despair. 9 divine swords and 9 rays of sword light tore through the void, leaving behind 9 pitch-black spatial cracks in the void. In an instant, they arrived in front of Ancestor Ing Tian. All techniques to nothing. Ancestor Ing Tian shouted loudly. His body suddenly became blurred, as if his flesh and blood had turned into a shadow, faint and illusory. The 9 rays of sword light directly slashed through the blurred figure of Ancestor Ing Tian, as if they were slashing a shadow. There was no point of impact. The new Green Cloud Path Master felt as if the 9 swords had slashed through the air. What? The Void Path? The new Palace Master of Tin Absolute Palace could not help but be shocked when he saw this scene. 1 sword slashes through the void. The new Sect Master of the Ing Tian sect took out a sword and slashed at the shadow of Ing Tian Old Ancestor. The sword light instantly soared up to 10 million feet, as though it was going to split the entire world into 2. Sword of the Void? Ancestor Ing Tian's voice resounded in everyone's mind. This was an indiscriminate communication through divine thoughts. Swoosh! Old Ancestor Ing Tian's shadow-like figure disappeared into the void, as if he had entered the void and disappeared just like that. Oh no! The current sect master of Ing Tian's sect could not help but be shocked when he saw this scene. No one knew better than him how terrifying Ancestor Ing Tian was. Seeing Ancestor Ing Tian suddenly disappear, the other experts were also inexplicably shocked. Be careful, he's around us, the sect master of Ing Tian's sect loudly said to the other 3 experts. The current sect master of Ing Tian's sect was a nephew of Ancestor Ing Tian, so he was somewhat afraid of Ancestor Ing Tian. However, this nephew of Ancestor Ing Tian was incredible. He was already a quasi-supreme, but compared to Ancestor Ing Tian, he was far inferior in both cultivation and combat power. This expert of Ing Tian's sect brought the Sword of the Void, which was a Tao artifact specialized in restraining Ancestor Ing Tian's secret technique of the Void. If Ancestor Ing Tian was slashed by the Sword of the Void, even if he was proficient in the secret technique of the Void, he would still be killed by the sword without any suspense. This was because this Sword of the Void had once killed a Void Beast. It was a fierce sword. Kill! The sect master of Ing Tian's sect roared, and a group of sword waves directly spread from the Sword of the Void in his hand. The surrounding void immediately rippled like water, and transparent ripples directly spread from the divine sword in his hand in all directions. A figure was directly forced out of the void by the spreading sword waves. Sky-breaking Tin Ultimate. The newly appointed Palace Master Shi Ju made his move, and his first move was the killing move of Tin Ultimate Palace. The power of the Tin Ultimate erupted from his hand and blasted towards Ancestor Ing Tian. The power of this sky-breaking blow was astonishing, and the void in front of Palace Master Shi Ju instantly collapsed. Haha, you want to break the sky with this combat power? What a joke. Old Ancestor Ing Tian laughed as he made his move. With a stretch of his right hand, the void collapsed. The mighty power of the 10 extremities rushed into the collapsed void and disappeared. You come in too. Ancestor Ing Tian roared, and a wave of sky-devouring power immediately erupted from his palm, instantly enveloping Palace Master Shi Ju. What? Palace Master Shi Ju's shock was no small matter. He could not help but fly towards Ancestor Ing Tian. Roar! Palace Master Shi Ju roared again and again, trying to break free from the devouring power that enveloped him, but it was all in vain. He found that he could not break free from the devouring power at all. Buzz! At this moment, a heart-palpitating sword sound rang out, and then an immortal sword light suddenly fell from the sky, directly falling between Ancestor Ing Tian and Palace Master Shi Ju, cutting off the devouring power of Gu Fei. How dare you? Ancestor Ing Tian was angry, really angry. This guy was his nephew, and he dared to go against him everywhere. He had to get rid of him. The sword light of the void fell, and Ancestor Tion had to retreat because the sword of the void was his nemesis. If he was hit by this divine sword, he would only end up with his body and soul destroyed. With such a delay, Palace Master Ju successfully broke free from the mighty devouring power of Ancestor Tion's hand. Palace Master Ju was like a frightened beast, looking at old Ancestor Tion in horror. He couldn't believe it. How could this guy be so strong? At this time, even the new sect master of Tion's sect was stunned. Together, the new sect master of Tion's sect roared at everyone. At this time, they had no choice but to fight with their lives, and the four great experts directly joined forces to attack Ancestor Tion. Ancestor Tion just smiled and did not say anything. In the next moment, he suddenly split into thousands, and countless shadows appeared in the void. Seeing this scene, everyone was inexplicably shocked. They simply couldn't sense which of the countless shadows was the real body of Ancestor Tion. Just as the old Ancestor Tion was fighting against the four great sect masters, Gu Fei was also facing off against an extreme sovereign. Violent sovereign energy spread out, causing the entire primogeniture mountain range to tremble. Would clan ancestor? At this time, Gu Fei was not afraid of anyone. Even if he faced an extreme supreme, he was confident that he could fight endlessly and trample on him. It's you. At this time, the Wood Clan ancestor finally recognized Gu Fei. The Wood Clan ancestor was all too familiar with Gu Fei because he had fought with this guy in the ancestral god realm. Haha, who do you think it is? You regret not interfering with my tribulation. Gu Fei said proudly as he looked at the Wood Clan ancestor opposite him. The Wood Clan's primogenitor's expression changed several times. In the next moment, he attacked. The Wood Clan's supreme grade primogenitor attacked furiously. A huge cyan hand instantly enveloped the void, trapping Gu Fei within it. Although the power of the Wood Elemental Great Tao was full of vitality, even the power of the Wood Elemental Great Tao could kill the peerless experts in the world as long as it was strong enough. One punch to break the limit. Without any hesitation, Gu Fei directly punched at the Wood Clan ancestor. His power instantly broke through the limit and surpassed the confinement of the extreme grade. The big green hand was directly smashed by Gu Fei's fist energy in the void, and in the next moment, Gu Fei's fist directly smashed into a person's body. This person was the Wood Clan ancestor. What? The Wood tribe progenitor looked down and saw a fist mark on his chest. He didn't even have time to think before he exploded into a cloud of blood mist with a bang. This was an existence at the extreme grade, but he was actually blown up by a punch from Gu Fei. This scene shocked everyone present, including the extreme grade supremes. How is this possible? The other supremes were in disbelief, and all of them were dumbfounded. The legendary supreme master of the Nine Paths was actually this powerful? Mu Jinghong, who saw this scene from afar, was even more scared out of his wits. Although the Wood Clan ancestor was not his father, he was still his uncle. Chapter 3799. Destroying the Wood Clan's ancestor with a single punch. This scene left everyone dumbfounded and in disbelief. It took them a long time to come back to their senses. How is this possible? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? An invincible supreme was destroyed with a single punch? This scene had completely exceeded everyone's understanding. No one had ever heard of an extreme grade sovereign being blown up by a single punch. Furthermore, the person who had blown up the extreme grade sovereign had just passed the extreme grade sovereign tribulation and become an extreme grade sovereign. A beginner level supreme blasted a middle level supreme? Even the extreme grade supremes from the ancestral realm who witnessed this scene were dumbfounded. There was a difference in strength between the extreme grade supremes. Supremes were invincible, but that was relative. A beginner level supreme was naturally no match for a middle level supreme, and a middle level supreme was no match for a master level supreme. The strongest supreme was naturally a supreme who was at the peak of the extreme grade realm. However, this was only true for ordinary supremes. Some extreme Tao supremes were freakish and cultivated a supreme cultivation technique that could suppress all Das. For example, When Gu Fei was going through the tribulation, he encountered the incarnation of the Great Tao left behind by the Primordial Supreme. The Primordial Great Tao could suppress all Taos in the world. Ordinary extreme-grade Supremes could also be differentiated by the number of Great Taos they had mastered. Generally speaking, the more perfect Great Taos they had mastered, the stronger they would be. For Supremes who had mastered many perfect Great Taos, it was not impossible for them to challenge those of a higher level. Roar. An angry roar sounded in the void. The blood mist in the void seemed to be burning and emitted a dazzling divine light of the Great Tao. In the next moment, the divine light of the Great Tao suddenly shrank and an extremely terrifying figure instantly appeared in the void. Boom! The extreme grade divine might erupted and the entire world seemed like it was going to explode. With the Wood Clan's ancestor as the center, the souls of all living beings within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles trembled at this moment. The might of a supreme being spread out in all directions. Even those hidden supreme beings were startled. Is that guy from the Wood Clan going crazy again? Who knows what he's up to? When Gu Fei was undergoing his tribulation, those extreme supremes didn't appear. However, when the Wood Clan's progenitor displayed his might, they couldn't sit still anymore. This was because the Wood race had two madmen. Once these two madmen went crazy, the consequences would be very serious. Haha, Uncle is angry. This guy is going to be in trouble. Mu Jinghong was very clear about his uncle's temperament. Once he went crazy, even his own father would have to give way. The other paragons of the primogeniture realm gave this fellow a nickname, Mu Sanfeng. Mu Sanfeng had once gone crazy 3 times a day and annihilated the 3 great races of the primogeniture realm. It could be said that his craziness had shaken the world. This lunatic is going crazy. The nearby extreme-grade Supremes hurriedly blocked the extreme-grade divine might that was emanating from the body of the Wood Clan's primogeniture. After all, ordinary living beings wouldn't be able to withstand such pressure. In just a short instant, over a dozen holy venerables and over 1,000 sages had fallen under this extreme-grade divine might. This was the terror of an extreme-grade supremacy. A single wisp of aura could annihilate a large number of living beings. They didn't even need to lift a finger. Kill. At this moment, Mu Sanfeng let out a furious roar. In the next instant, countless vines rushed out of his body like huge dragons and coiled around Gu Fei. There were actually countless tentacles and barbs on the vines. If one were to be coiled around by them, it would definitely be an incomparably terrifying thing. In just an instant, Gu Fei was tightly wrapped up by the countless vines and disappeared from everyone's sight. A huge ball of vines appeared in the sky. At this moment, Mu Jinghong suddenly raised his hand and caught a flame. In the next instant, his cold face revealed a sinister expression. Old ancestor Ingtian, Mu Jinghong took a deep look at the ball of vines in the distant sky before he turned around and drove the war chariot away. The 3 star beasts stepped on the void and pulled the extremely eye-catching war chariot away from the sky, startling many people. Humph. The extravagance of the descendants of a supreme being is really grand. Someone said unhappily, "Keep your voice down. If that person hears you, you might lose your life." Someone said cautiously, "SK, what's there to be afraid of? That person didn't think much of it. Haha, little fellow. How dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? I'll suck you dry." The Wood Clan's primogenitor, Mu Sanfeng, laughed maniacally. His voice spread far and wide, causing the ears of all the nearby experts to buzz and the blood in their bodies to churn. Some of the weaker experts even fell from the sky directly. Of course, those who could watch the battle nearby were naturally extremely powerful. Even if they fell from the sky, they wouldn't fall to their deaths. However, they would still end up in a very sorry state. The Wood Clan's primogenitor was an extreme-grade intermediate supreme being. His cultivation was unimaginably powerful. Even though he was blown apart by Gu Fei's extreme shattering fist, he didn't seem to be injured at all. Humph. He has just become an extreme-grade supreme being. How dare he challenge a supreme being of the older generation? Isn't he courting death? In the distant sky, an expert who was on good terms with the Wood Clan said disdainfully, "That's right. The supreme beings of the older generation are invincible. This fellow is overestimating himself. Sigh. I thought the legendary supreme beings of the Nine Paths were very powerful. It seems like it was exaggerated. The experts who were watching the battle from afar were discussing in low voices. Even the other extreme-grade supreme beings weren't optimistic about Gu Fei's chances. However, these supreme beings were indeed shocked by the scene where Gu Fei blew up the Wood Clan's primogenitor with a single punch. However, at this moment, the Wood Clan's primogenitor, who was laughing loudly, suddenly stopped. He stared at the ball of vines that was entangled by his vines with a grave expression. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound was heard. The ball of vines in the sky exploded in an instant. A powerful martial aura spread out, shocking everyone present. A figure rushed out from the shattered ball of vines. He stretched out his hand and slapped at Mu Jinghong at an extremely fast speed. This wasn't the sky-covering palm because the battle technique had been erased by Gu Fei. However, Gu Fei's every move was still very powerful. The huge palm instantly enveloped the entire void. Naturally, the Wood Clan's primogenitor was also enveloped by Gu Fei's giant palm. Rumble. The void that was enveloped by Gu Fei's giant palm shook violently. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void. Chapter 3800. Rumble. The huge palm shrouded a part of the world. Gu Fei directly struck out a martial arts technique that he had created after becoming a supreme. This was an evolution and metamorphosis based on the foundation of the heaven-shrouding palm. Gu Fei had melted all kinds of divine abilities and had forgotten all the divine abilities and secret techniques that he had learned in the past. However, with his current cultivation, he could create his own martial arts technique based on the foundation of his predecessors. The huge palm descended, and the void that was enveloped by Gu Fei's huge palm began to be annihilated. This was a terrifying huge palm that seemed to be able to destroy the world and turn everything in the world into nothingness. Without any suspense, countless terrifying vines rushed out of the Wood Clan primogenitor's body and soared into the sky, trying to break Gu Fei's huge palm. However, they instantly collapsed under the huge palm. Roar! The Wood Clan primogenitor roared and attacked with all his might. Endless wood elemental great Tao erupted from his body, and the surrounding void instantly collapsed and turned into nothingness. The power of the extreme Tao shook the heavens and the earth, and it was extremely terrifying. If not for the nearby Supremes working together to block the extreme Tao power that erupted from the Wood Clan primogenitor and Gu Fei, all living beings within a radius of billions of miles would have already died. Gu Fei's huge palm slammed down like he was swatting a fly, and directly smashed the Wood Clan primogenitor into a bloody mist. The vast martial arts power that descended from the huge palm even obliterated the Wood Clan primogenitor's essence, chi, and spirit, dissolving everything. After Gu Fei struck out with his palm, he felt as though his body had been hollowed out. The amount of extreme Dao Yuan Qi consumed by this killer move was simply too great. Everyone was dumbfounded once again. What kind of divine ability was this? It actually blasted the Wood Clan primogenitor into pieces again, and this time, even the bloody mist was obliterated. Even the nearby Supremes of the ancestral realm were dumbfounded. Of course, the Wood Clan's primogenitor was not killed by Gu Fei just like that. After all, it was extremely difficult to kill an extreme-grade sovereign. Even though his flesh, blood, tendons, and bones had been obliterated, his life imprint was still there. In the next moment, an illusory, shadow-like existence appeared in the void. How is this possible? A wave of spiritual will spread out from the shadow, and an incredulous voice rang out in everyone's mind. Gu Fei wasn't surprised to see the Wood Race's progenitor's figure appear again. He knew that an attack of this level could only seriously injure the Wood Race's progenitor. An extreme Dao sovereign was the strongest existence in the myriad heavens and myriad worlds. The means of an extreme Dao sovereign were unimaginable to outsiders. Even the current Gu Fei found it hard to imagine. At this moment, his 5 senses had been strengthened to the extreme and his spiritual force was extremely powerful. With just a thought, His spiritual force could instantly cover a range of hundreds of millions of miles. This was under the circumstances of the ancestral realm. The void of the ancestral realm was extremely stable, and the laws of heaven and earth were extremely powerful. Cultivator's spiritual force would naturally be affected by the laws of heaven and earth. You deserve to die. The wood race's progenitor was almost going crazy. He was actually blasted apart twice by a young fellow who had just become a supreme in front of everyone. This time, he actually felt that his life was being threatened. Ever since he attained the Tao, he had experienced countless battles, but no one had ever been able to threaten his life. At this moment, the wood race's progenitor's figure rapidly solidified. Soon, an extreme-grade sovereign with flesh and blood appeared in front of everyone. Haha, I deserve to die? Then come and kill me. Gu Fei shouted at the wood race's progenitor in disdain. Die! The wood race's progenitor roared. In the next moment, he actually turned into a green divine light of the Great Path and instantly collided with Gu Fei's body. Gu Fei was directly sent flying thousands of miles away and smashed into a mountain before he stopped. Seeing this scene, the experts who were on good terms with the wood race were all surprised and delighted. When I go crazy, even I am afraid of myself. You little fellow, you shouldn't have angered me. The wood race's progenitor's figure appeared in the void and roared crazily. His eyes were extremely crazy and red. After he roared, he directly rushed into the ancestral mountain range and attacked Gu Fei. The green divine light of the Great Path enveloped the entire world. Mu Sanfeng, this lunatic, seeing this scene, the supreme sovereigns of the ancestral realm couldn't help but be shocked. Mu Sanfeng's terror was well known. This was also the reason why no one was willing to offend the two lunatics of the wood race. Boom! At this moment, a loud noise resounded from the primogenitor mountain range. In the next moment, a gust of black gas rose from the depths of the primogenitor mountain range. In the next moment, the black gas instantly spread out and enveloped the entire world. A cold and terrifying aura spread out, causing the supreme sovereigns outside the ancestral mountain range to be indescribably shocked. What's happening? Everyone was shocked to the extreme when they saw this scene. The depths of the ancestral mountain range was a forbidden area for supreme sovereigns. No supreme sovereign dared to casually step into it. There were all kinds of unknown dangers in the depths of the ancestral mountain range. Roar! A terrifying roar came from the void that was enveloped by the black aura. A huge black figure appeared between the heavens and the earth, inhaling and exhaling black aura. It was like an evil god that came from the ancient times, causing people's hearts to palpitate. Great Demon Sovereign? At this moment, an old voice was heard. The old man from before rushed out of the black aura. He was no longer calm as he stared at the huge figure in the black aura. What? Great Demon Sovereign? When the others heard the old man's words, they were shocked. The Great Demon Sovereign was a legendary existence. Why would he suddenly appear in the ancestral mountain range? The era of the Great Demon Sovereign was too far away for anyone. It was to the extent that the current supreme sovereigns had almost forgotten the existence of this demon sovereign. The extreme Tao demon had been sealed in the primogenitor mountain range. However, the extreme Tao demon had managed to break the seal and escape. At this moment, Gu Fei and the wood race's primogenitor fought. Violent energy ripples spread out in all directions. Even the black aura that enveloped the heavens and earth was dispersed. The two supreme sovereigns fought crazily. The might of the extreme Tao shook the world, causing the mountains to tremble. Chapter 3801. The demonic aura in the primogenitor mountain range surged into the sky. An extremely terrifying demonic figure appeared between heaven and earth. The great demon roared at the sky. The terrifying sound waves spread in all directions. The entire world seemed as if it was going to explode. The pitch-black demonic aura directly surged out from the primogenitor mountain range, blotting out the sky. What? All the experts outside the primogenitor mountain range were extremely shocked. Apart from the extreme grade supremes, everyone turned around and fled at the first moment. However, The demonic aura surging out from the primogenitor mountain range was extremely fast. In an instant, it enveloped the endless mountain range. The life essence of the mountain range that was enveloped by the demonic aura was rapidly drained. All the flowers and trees rapidly withered. In the end, they crumbled in the void and turned into black dust. This primordial demon sovereign was mercilessly draining the life essence of all living creatures. Some unlucky fellows who couldn't escape in time immediately howled and quickly turned into dried corpses in the demonic aura. Their essence, aura, and soul were all completely devoured by the demonic aura. There were even a few quasi-supremes who were caught up by the demonic aura and instantly disappeared in the demonic aura. Seeing this scene, everyone was extremely shocked. All of them fled with all their might, fearing that the demonic aura would catch up to them. All of them wished that they could grow a pair of divine wings that could allow them to fly 10,000 miles in one go. Buzz. At this moment, a rumbling sound came from within the demonic aura. Then, a dazzling divine light directly erupted from within the demonic aura. Under the illumination of this divine light, the endless demonic aura instantly dissipated like snow. It was a divine mirror. An extreme power erupted from the divine mirror. It was as if a bright moon had risen in the darkness. The mirror light pierced through the void and illuminated the world. A figure with a divine mirror on her head broke through the layers of demonic aura. She actually rushed out of the demonic aura. That was a white-robed goddess. The power of a quasi-supreme being burst forth from her body. She was actually carrying a supreme Tao artifact on her. At this critical moment of life and death, she desperately activated this supreme Tao artifact and rushed out of the demonic energy, escaping with her life. However, the other quasi-supremes weren't so lucky. Their essence was directly devoured by the demonic aura. Even their primordial spirits were devoured, turning into a part of the demonic aura and turning into dried corpses. Impudent. Just at this moment, a loud roar rang out. Then, an invisible force directly blocked the vast and mighty demonic aura. Like an invisible gale, it actually blew away the demonic aura that filled the sky in an instant. An extremely powerful aura of the extreme Tao erupted. The Wind Saint Supreme has made a move. A supreme being has taken action. We're saved. Countless experts from the primogenitor realm rejoiced when they saw this. With a sovereign taking action, no matter how powerful the demon was, it wouldn't be enough. One had to know that there was more than one extreme-grade sovereign present. This was the power of the wind. It was invisible and traceless, but it was also the most deadly. As the wind blew, the mountains were directly turned into dust. It was as if there was an invisible hand in the void erasing everything on the ground. Everything would cease to exist, including the demonic chi. Roar. The primordial devil lord that had just broken free roared into the sky. In the next instant, a series of clanging noises resounded from his body. Thereafter, he waved his right hand and 3 black beams shot towards the Wind Saint Sovereign. The Wind Saint Supreme's face turned grave when he saw the 3 black beams shooting towards him. There were 3 chains wrapped in the black beams, and every single one of the chains emitted an unusual aura. Oomph! The Wind Saint Supreme sneered. Boundless power of the great Tao of wind condensed in front of him. Then, it turned into a transparent wind blade and slashed at the 3 chains that were entangling him. Clanging noises resounded continuously as the 3 chains constantly trembled. However, they still shot towards the Wind Saint Supreme. What? The Wind Saint Supreme was shocked. He had no choice but to turn into a gust of wind and instantly flew 100 miles away, dodging the 3 chains. At this moment, in the primogenitor mountain range, the mysterious old man took action. The ordinary-looking wooden staff in his hand flew up and turned into a black dragon that pounced towards the primordial devil lord. The terrifying aura of the extreme-grade sovereign erupted from the black dragon. The black dragon broke through the layers of demonic aura and instantly pounced towards the primordial devil lord. Roar! The black dragon roared and its huge dragon claw tore towards the primordial devil lord. The primordial devil lord stretched out his hand and grabbed the black dragon's claw. Then, He spun the black dragon around and smashed it onto the ground. Boom! With a loud bang, the ground trembled and undulated violently like waves. Several mountains in the surroundings immediately crumbled and turned into dust. Humph! The mysterious old man's figure instantly disappeared into the void. In the next moment, when he reappeared, he was already above the head of the primordial demon sovereign. The mysterious old man formed a seal with both hands and pressed it towards the primordial devil lord. In the next moment, countless Tao runes rushed out from his hands and instantly sealed the void. Naturally, the primordial devil lord was also sealed within. It was the extreme grade sovereign seal. However, the primordial devil lord's body trembled. The mysterious old man's seal was instantly shattered by the power that erupted from the primordial devil lord's body. Countless Tao runes dissipated in the void. The mysterious old man was taken aback. He never thought that the primordial devil lord would be so powerful. No wonder the primordial devil lord could only seal him and not kill him. At this time, the battle between Gu Fei and the Wood Clan's primordial devil lord was still ongoing. The Wood Clan's primordial devil lord was indeed worthy of being a supreme being of the older generation. His cultivation was not something that ordinary supreme beings could compare to. Kill! Gu Fei roared again and again. The martial power of the extreme grade sovereign realm erupted from his body and shook the heavens and earth. He was extremely powerful and was actually fighting with the Wood Clan's primordial devil lord. Little guy, you're too naive. You've just become a supreme being and you want to challenge me? You're courting death. The Wood Clan's primordial devil lord roared madly. Vines suddenly broke through the void around Gu Fei and rushed towards him. On Gu Fei's body, the sky-blue, immortal golden battle armor emitted boundless divine light, blocking the vines that were trying to entangle him. The battle armor finally completed its ultimate transformation and became an extreme-grade sovereign Tao artifact. The 9 Heaven Stars sword also became an extreme-grade sovereign sword artifact. When Gu Fei ascended to the extreme and made the ultimate leap, the 2 Tao artifacts also made the ultimate leap. This was something that even Gu Fei did not expect. With these 2 extreme-grade sovereign Tao artifacts in hand, Gu Fei was full of confidence. You're just flaunting your seniority. Watch how I defeat you. Chapter 3802. Just as the ancient devil lord appeared and Gu Fei was fighting against the Wood Clan's progenitor, Yingtian ancestor had already taken control of the situation in the ancestral grounds of Yingtian sect. The 4 new patriarchs that Mu Jinghong appointed joined forces, but they were still defeated by Yingtian ancestor. The new sect leader of Yingtian sect was even killed by Yingtian ancestor. The new sect leader of Qingyan Path, the new sect leader of Skyless sect, and the new palace lord of 10 Absolute Palace were all killed by Yingtian ancestor. However, the 3 of them left their corpses behind, while the new sect leader of Yingtian sect didn't even leave behind a corpse. What Yingtian ancestor hated the most were traitors. Even if the traitor was his descendant, he still had to die. At Yingtian ancestor's level of cultivation, familial love was already very faint to him. Most importantly, since this guy dared to betray him, he was someone who killed his ancestors. How could he show mercy to such a guy? Clap, clap, clap. Just as Yingtian ancestor killed the 4 patriarchs, a round of applause was heard. Yingtian ancestor turned around and saw a person clapping while walking in the air towards him. With just a few steps, he arrived at the top of the mountain. It's you? Yingtian ancestor recognized the person, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink. Your tribulation was indeed a trap. What do you want? The person looked at Yingtian ancestor indifferently and asked curiously. Yingtian ancestor didn't say anything. I was just asking. All right, it's time to send you on your way, the person said disapprovingly. Yingtian ancestor stared at the person in black and suddenly laughed. Then, he said, Mu Tianan, it's been a long time. You've grown a lot. Huh. You actually dare to be presumptuous in front of me. When I became an ancestor, you were still wearing diapers. Humph, as the saying goes, the new waves of the Yangtze River push the old waves, and the old waves push the old waves to death on the beach. I am the new wave that pushes the old waves to death, Mu Tianan said coldly. So much nonsense. Kill. Ingtian ancestor didn't want to waste any more time with Mu Tianan. In the next moment, his body suddenly erupted with an even stronger killing intent. Whoosh! Ancestor Ingtian's figure instantly disappeared into the void. However, Mu Tianan slapped out with his palm, causing the air to tremble. Transparent ripples spread out in all directions. A figure immediately appeared in the void. Bam! Fist and palm collided, and a deafening sound wave spread out in every direction. The entire mountain range shook, and the cultivators on the nearby mountains felt their bloodstreams roiling due to the sound wave. Some of the weaker cultivators had their ears bleeding from the vibrations. All the cultivators were shocked and hurriedly retreated further away. At this moment, at the peak of Ingtian Ancestor Mountain, Ingtian Ancestor was a little surprised. This fellow was actually able to exchange a blow with him? How was this possible? Mu Tianan was just a junior of the Wood Clan. He was left by Mu Jinghong to guard the Ingtian ancestral land. However, no one would have thought that this guy would be so powerful. He was much stronger than the previous 4 sect ancestors. To Ancestor Ingtian, this guy was definitely a rare opponent. What do you think? With my meager abilities, do you think I have the qualifications to send you on your way? Mu Tianan said somewhat proudly. How dare you? Ancestor Ingtian was really angry. If it was Mu Jinghong, it would be fine. However, Mu Jinghong was a descendant of a supreme being and a second-generation supreme being. His cultivation and combat ability were above Ancestor Ingtian. Being looked down by Mu Jinghong was nothing to Ancestor Ingtian. However, who was Mu Tianan? How dare he look down on me? If I don't kill you, I would be letting myself down. Ancestor Ingtian stared at Mu Tianan and said while clenching his teeth, Hee. Mu Tianan laughed. Then try and see if you can kill me. Boom. At the same time, the 2 quasi-supremes exerted their strength at the same time. 2 violent forces instantly clashed together. The palm and the fist that were pressed together immediately separated, and the 2 were sent flying. However, in the next moment, the 2 of them charged at each other again. A battle between quasi-supremes broke out on the peak of Ingtian clan's ancestral mountain. Of course, this battle did not cause too much of a commotion, because all the powerhouses' gazes were attracted by the battle within the ancestral mountain. Even if there were people who sensed the battle within Ingtian ancestral land, no one came to check it out. At this time, there were still countless powerhouses rushing towards the ancestral mountain from all over the ancestral realm. It should be known that battles between extreme Dao experts were rare even in the ancestral realm. Moreover, it was said that an ancient demon lord had appeared in the depths of the ancestral mountain. This was not a small matter. When the ancient demon lord appeared, all living beings within hundreds of millions of miles would be plunged into misery and suffering. The ancient demon lord had been sealed for countless years, and his vitality was greatly damaged. He needed a large amount of essence to recover his vitality. Where did the large amount of essence come from? Once the ancient demon lord devoured essence crazily, all living beings would suffer. This was an outcome that no extreme Dao Supreme being wanted to see. Rumble. At this time, the demonic figure in the ancestral mountain stood up. It was as if the entire sky was pierced by him. Endless extreme Dao demon chi spread out and once again gushed out from the ancestral mountain. The ancient demon lord's Dharma idol was too huge. Even the highest mountain in the ancestral mountain only reached his knees. Damn it! The Wind Saint Supreme was shocked and furious. This fellow was too powerful. He was even stronger than a mid-level supremacy. Could he be an old demon in the Great Perfection Supremacy realm? There were only 2 demonic path experts of this level in the entire ancestral realm. Even the Wind Saint Supreme had never seen this extreme Dao Supreme being. It seemed that this extreme Dao Supreme being was in existence from the mythological era and was sealed for countless years. However, how was this fella sealed in the depths of the ancestral mountain? Although the Wind Saint Supreme was a little curious, he didn't have time to think about other things at this time because the ancient demon lord had already made his move. An incomparably huge demonic hand directly grabbed towards the Wind Saint Supreme and instantly enveloped the entire heaven and earth. Oomph! The Wind Saint Supreme sneered. In the next moment, His figure disappeared in the void without a trace. However, an invisible force broke through the layers of demonic aura and slashed towards the demonic figure that stood tall in the sky. In the next moment, the invisible force slashed through the demonic figure's body. One of the demonic figure's arms immediately fell and dissipated in the void, turning into demonic aura. Chapter 3803. The attack of an extreme supreme being was naturally extraordinary. The terrifying aura of the extreme supreme being spread out, and the entire world seemed to be on the verge of exploding. A single figure could crush the world. Even if a quasi-supreme being was here, he would be directly killed by the explosive power of the extreme supreme being. There was no need for a supreme being to do anything. Fight, fight. I'll find a good place to watch the show. At this moment, the god of the mountain and river cauldron, the disheveled old man, retreated and left the battlefield. He brought the magic ball formed by his thousands of killing formations to the top of a mountain. He took out a table and a stool from his inner world, and then he got some immortal fruits and immortal wine out of nowhere. He poured himself a cup and drank it. Eating fruit, drinking wine, and watching the show is one of life's greatest pleasures. The disheveled old man shook the cup in his hand and said with a look of enjoyment, "This guy." Gu Fei did not know whether to laugh or cry when he saw this. The god of the mountain and river cauldron was also a form of life. The immortal wine and immortal fruits contained essence qi, so he could naturally eat them. However, Gu Fei did not expect this guy to be so good at enjoying himself. Compared to the purple gold divine sword, the peerless ominous saber, and the other extreme Tao weapons, the disheveled old man was undoubtedly a different kind of god. He could not be treated as an ordinary person. At this time, the primogenitor of the Wood clan revealed his true form. A strange tree descended from the sky. With a boom, he took root on a mountain peak. This strange tree's huge trunk pierced the clouds, and one could not see the end of it. There were countless black thorns and countless vines on the tree, and there were even tiny tentacles growing on the vines. There was not a single leaf on the tree, and there were countless intertwining Tao patterns on the tree. Endless essence qi of the earth began to frantically gather towards this strange tree. Gu Fei could not help but be surprised when he saw this. The Wood ancestor was a supreme being that cultivated from a strange tree, and this guy was frantically devouring the essence qi of the ancestral mountain. Heaven-trampling step into the sky. Gu Fei roared and took a step forward. He instantly rushed to the end of the starry sky, and then he stomped down on the strange tree that the Wood ancestor had transformed into. Rumble. Under Gu Fei's feet, the power of the extreme path descended. The space beneath his feet was directly annihilated, turning into a terrifying torrent of destruction that enveloped the tree that the Wood clan's progenitor had transformed into. In the next moment, the top half of the strange tree instantly crumbled in the void. Roar! An angry roar came from the strange tree, and the endless power of the great path of Wood burst out. Countless vines on the strange tree all shot up into the sky, turning into terrifying spears that pierced through the void. The Wood race's progenitor fought with all his might and finally managed to block the heaven-treading step, which was like an ancient divine mountain pressing down on him. Haha, I have taken root in the primogenitor mountain range and can draw the power of the primogenitor vein to my body. Even if you are a great perfection sovereign, you are no match for me. The Wood ancestor roared madly. His roots dug deep into the ground and continuously devoured the essence energy of the primogenitor mountain range. This was the innate ability of the Wood race. To the Wood race, the essence energy of the earth was their nourishment. At this time, countless extreme path Tao patterns rushed out of the Wood ancestor's body. The top half of the tree that was shattered by Gu Fei actually recovered rapidly, and the power of Gu Fei's heaven-treading step was forcibly blocked. The two extreme path Tao patterns constantly collided and constantly canceled each other out. Where the two powers met, countless Tao patterns were annihilated, and even the void couldn't exist. Good fella, he can actually force Mu Sanfeng to show his true form. The supremacy of 9 paths is really powerful. The extreme path sovereign who was watching from afar exclaimed. When the news that a supremacy of 9 paths had appeared in the primogenitor realm spread, the whole world was shocked. Even some super antiques that had lived for countless years were alarmed. The supremacy of 9 paths was a legend, an invincible legend. Many people couldn't believe that the legendary supremacy of 9 paths had actually appeared in front of them. At this time, many extreme path sovereigns wanted to strangle this heaven-defying existence. It should be known that if this guy was allowed to mature, no one in the entire primogenitor realm would be able to match him. Once the supremacy of 9 paths matured, he would definitely break the balance of power in the primogenitor realm. This was something that the supremacy of the primogenitor realm didn't want to see. However, the extreme path sovereigns of the primogenitor realm didn't want to offend Gu Fei so easily. It should be known that if they attacked and failed to kill Gu Fei, the consequences would be very serious. At this time, the Wood Ancestor was frantically devouring the essence energy of the primogenitor mountain range, and the power that erupted from his body was constantly increasing in intensity. Countless extreme path Tao patterns appeared on the body of the tree that the Wood Ancestor had transformed into. Each Tao pattern emitted a dazzling divine light of the Great Path, and the released extreme path level power gathered together and condensed on every vine on the tree. In the next moment, the vines that rose from the sky directly broke through the power of Gu Fei's heaven-treading step and entangled Gu Fei. One eye of samsara, Gu Fei shouted, and reincarnation power rushed out of his eyes. The reincarnation power of the great path of samsara erupted, and the piercing vines disappeared in the void, obliterated by the mighty reincarnation power. What? The Wood Ancestor was shocked. Before he could react, he seemed to have entered another world, and his consciousness became blurry. When he woke up, he realized that he had actually become a small tree that had taken root on a chaotic divine stone, and on the other side of the chaotic divine stone, there was another small tree that had taken root. There was chaos around the chaotic divine stone. Apart from chaos, there was nothing else. How is this possible? The Wood Ancestor was really shocked. He had clearly been born and became an extreme path sovereign. How did he return to the time when he had just awakened? The origin of the two Great Wood Ancestor wasn't a secret in the primogenitor realm. The two Great Wood Ancestor were two wondrous trees that were nurtured on a chaotic divine stone in the chaos. The two wondrous trees on the chaos had become extreme path sovereigns, and this was the origin of the Wood Ancestor. At this time, the Wood Ancestor was very weak, but he already had the cultivation and combat power of an immortal god. However, with such strength, it was impossible for him to protect himself in the chaos. Any random chaotic creature could get rid of the two trees on the chaotic divine stone. Chapter 3804. Gu Fei used the reincarnation technique, and the power of reincarnation surged out of his eyes. It actually sent the Wood clan's primogenitor back to when he had just awakened. The Wood Ancestor who had just regained consciousness was very weak. While he was still in shock, a figure walked out of the chaos. What? The Wood Ancestor was shocked. The powerful figure walked towards the chaotic divine stone he had taken root in. Clearly, it was coming for them. At that moment, an ear-piercing sound was heard. A vine suddenly shot out from the other small tree on the divine chaos rock. The vine pierced through the chaotic creature. The Wood Ancestor was both surprised and happy. He vaguely remembered that when they had just awakened their consciousness, they had been in danger a few times. It was his elder brother who had killed the creatures in the chaos, allowing him to survive. The creatures born in the chaos lived in this environment where the strong preyed on the weak. They had to take the risk of being killed by other chaotic creatures to slowly grow. The consciousness of the Wood Ancestor was very clear. He knew that he was fighting against Gu Fei, and that Gu Fei had forced him into reincarnation. However, although he knew all this, he was powerless. He could not break through the reincarnation and return to reality to fight against Gu Fei. Roar! The primogenitor of the Wood clan roared madly. The entire world shook violently, and the scenery around him changed rapidly. Soon, the primogenitor found himself in an unfamiliar environment. Boom! In the next moment, a huge golden hand descended from the sky and slammed him into the ground. The entire ground immediately shook violently, and the vast energy ripples caused the ground to undulate like waves. The golden hand dissipated in the void, and a huge palm print appeared on the ground. In the next moment, a figure rushed out of the palm print. This person was the wood ancestor. He was in an extremely sorry state. Many parts of his body were bleeding. It was a purplish-green blood. He was severely injured, and his body was almost destroyed by the golden hand that descended from the sky. As soon as the wood tribe's first ancestor rushed out, an extremely sharp golden sword light instantly slashed at him and actually cut him in half. Roar! The wood ancestor roared in anger. The two halves of his body immediately fused back together. However, at this moment, a golden figure appeared. That figure stretched out his hand and grabbed the wood race primogenitor. He then tossed the wood race primogenitor into a furnace, wanting to refine him. At this moment, the wood ancestor seemed to be trapped in reincarnation, unable to extricate himself. Inside the golden furnace, golden divine fire burned. The Wood clan's ancestor only lasted for less than an hour before he was refined into a stream of life essence, which then turned into a divine pill of life. At this moment, the golden furnace opened. A huge hand reached in and grabbed the divine pill of life. It was Gu Fei. The Wood race's progenitor had actually been refined into a divine pill of life in the cycle of reincarnation. This was an extreme-grade divine pill refined from the essence, energy, and soul of an extreme supreme being. No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to break out of my reincarnation. Gu Fei looked at the extreme divine pill of life in his hand and said indifferently. Seeing this scene, the extreme supreme of the primogenitor realm were dumbfounded. In just a short time, the Wood ancestor was refined into a divine pill? This was too terrifying. At this moment, the divine pill of life in Gu Fei's hand vibrated violently and began to release extreme power. Do you still want to struggle before death? Gu Fei immediately struck out 9 extreme Tao patterns and imprinted them onto the divine elixir of life. The divine elixir immediately quietened down. An extreme-grade divine pill was definitely a supreme divine pill that would make even an extreme-grade sovereign go green with envy. It should be known that this divine pill was refined by Gu Fei from the Wood clan's primogenitor, and it contained the perfect power of the great Tao of Wood. This would be of great help to those who wanted to break through to the supreme realm. Gu Fei directly refined the consciousness of the Wood ancestor. It was actually so easy to kill a supreme. This made Gu Fei feel a little incredulous. At this moment, Gu Fei still didn't know what it meant to be a supreme of 9 paths in the primogenitor realm. The other supreme beings in the primogenitor realm were already stunned by Gu Fei. This was because Gu Fei's method was too frightening. He could actually refine a supreme into a divine pill of life. Just as Gu Fei refined the Wood ancestor into a divine pill, a furious roar rang out from the Wood ancestor's ancestral ground. Then, a powerful figure of the extreme grade charged out from the depths of the Wood ancestor's ancestral ground and instantly disappeared into the void. What happened to the great primogenitor? All the experts in the ancestral land of the Wood ancestor were indescribably shocked. The great primogenitor hadn't been angry for a long time. What exactly happened to make the great primogenitor personally take action? When Gu Fei refined the Wood ancestor, he also used the reincarnation technique to read all of the primogenitor's memories. Thus, he learned the truth about the Wood ancestor. In the next moment, he laughed and took a step forward, instantly disappearing into the void. What is he trying to do? The supreme sovereigns of the primogenitor realm couldn't help but be astonished at this scene. At this moment, they didn't dare to recklessly attack Gu Fei. The primogenitor of the Wood ancestor was a supreme at the intermediate stage of the extreme Tao. If even he was refined into a divine pill of life by Gu Fei, the others were definitely not Gu Fei's match. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the primogenitor mountain range. A terrifying and towering divine aura immediately erupted from this figure, causing the heavens to tremble. It's him? When the sovereigns saw this existence, they couldn't help but be shocked. This supreme was the other primogenitor of the Wood ancestor, and the strongest one at that. Who is it? Who killed my brother? Who dares to kill my brother? The voice of the wood ancestor resounded throughout the world. No one dared to speak, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. At this moment, the divine sense of the wood ancestor had already enveloped a radius of billions of miles. However, he didn't find any aura of the murderer who killed his brother. At this moment, a figure appeared outside the entrance of the valley where the ancestral land of the wood ancestor was located. This person was Gu Fei. No one thought that he would actually dare to come to their doorstep. At this moment, the experts in the ancestral land of the wood ancestor noticed Gu Fei. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Chapter 3805. Gu Fei used the reincarnation art to erase the Wood clan's progenitor's cultivation and forced him into reincarnation. In the end, he even refined the Wood clan's progenitor into an extreme-grade divine pill. The Wood clan's second progenitor, who had dominated the ancestral realm for countless years and ruled over billions of lives, died just like that. All the extreme-grade sovereigns who witnessed this scene were indescribably shocked. They felt a chill run down their spines. This was the first extreme-grade sovereign to die in the past 10,000 years. Extreme-grade sovereigns were invincible in the myriad of worlds. They were existences that stood above all living beings and could be said to be immortal. But now, an immortal extreme-grade sovereign had actually died. The news spread through the ancestral realm at an unimaginable speed. In an instant, the entire cultivation world of the ancestral realm was silent, and then it boiled. The Wood clan's second progenitor died? How is that possible? Someone shook his head in disbelief. It was no wonder. That was not an ordinary being. It was an extreme-grade sovereign. It was too difficult to kill an extreme-grade sovereign. Even in the ancestral realm, battles between extreme-grade sovereigns rarely happened. The extreme-grade sovereigns of the major forces were mostly used as deterrents. Not many people in the ancestral realm had seen an extreme-grade sovereign fight. Of course, once an extreme-grade sovereign made a move, it would be an earth-shattering event that would shake the entire ancestral realm. However, it had been a long time since an extreme-grade sovereign made a move. The last time they made a move was not long ago. They wanted to kill a heaven-defying existence in the ancestral god realm. However, the Wood clan's progenitor, who led the battle, seemed to have suffered a great loss. Not only did he not kill that expert, but he was also disgraced. Although the Wood clan's progenitor deliberately concealed this matter, it still spread out. This made the two Wood clan's progenitors very unhappy. When Mu Sanfeng went crazy, it was no joke. Some of the smaller forces suffered a calamity and were killed by him. After he made a move, the discussions about him in the ancestral realm immediately died down. But now, Mu Sanfeng, the Wood clan's second progenitor, was a thing of the past. Boom. At this time, Gu Fei appeared outside the ancestral land of the Wood race. He directly punched the mountain gate of the ancestral land of the Wood race, and then walked in step by step with his hands behind his back. Angry roars came from the ancestral land of the Wood race. More than a dozen extremely powerful figures rushed out. The entire ancestral land of the Wood race was in an uproar. How dare you destroy our ancestral land? Are you courting death? The leader roared at Gu Fei. Noisy. Gu Fei waved his right hand, and the Wood clan powerhouse didn't even have the chance to let out a scream before he was instantly transformed into a cloud of blood mist, and his body and soul were directly destroyed. The blood mist that the Wood tribe powerful being had turned into splashed onto the bodies of the other Wood tribe powerful beings. The warm blood splashed onto their faces, and these Wood tribe powerful beings were instantly stunned. Ants. Gu Fei didn't even look at these guys and directly walked past them. After walking for a long time, countless bloody wounds suddenly appeared on the bodies of these Wood tribe powerful beings who were standing there motionlessly. Their whole bodies fell apart like building blocks. The Wood tribe powerful beings who rushed out of the ancestral land of the Wood race were all stunned when they saw this scene. Who was this person? How dare he come here and start a massacre? Activate the Grand Formation. Activate the Grand Formation. Activate the Grand Formation for me. Someone crazily roared towards the ancestral land of the Wood race. Everyone was panicking. Because there were two Wood tribe progenitors in the ancestral land, There was no need to activate the Mountain Protection Grand Formation. There were two extreme grade supremes in the ancestral land. Who would dare to come here and court death? However, the news of the death of the Wood Race's second progenitor had yet to reach the ancestral land of the Wood Race. All the Wood Tribe powerful beings in the ancestral land of the Wood Race didn't know how powerful Gu Fei was. Kill him. An old man stepped out of the crowd and directly attacked Gu Fei, who was walking towards him step by step. He waved his right hand and countless thorny vines immediately rushed out of his hand. Like spears, they pierced through the void and directly stabbed in front of Gu Fei. Bang! Countless vines seemed to hit an invisible wall in front of Gu Fei, and all exploded. Swoosh! Gu Fei casually waved his hand, and an extremely sharp sword light immediately rushed out of his hand and swept towards the group of people in front of him. The speed of the sword light was so fast that even the quasi-supreme being old man couldn't dodge it in time. In the next moment, the sword light flashed, and that group of people was directly sliced in half at the waist. They fell to the ground and revealed their original forms. These guys were usually in human form. However, after being cut in half at the waist by Gu Fei, they immediately revealed their original forms. They were all wood elemental creatures like vine spirits, tree monsters, and flower demons. Gu Fei killed a large number of Wood Tribe experts in one move. Even a quasi-supreme was killed by his sword light. This scared the countless Wood Tribe experts that rushed over from all directions. Perhaps in the eyes of others, a quasi-supreme was invincible under the supremes. A quasi-supreme was enough to run amok in a domain. If the supremes didn't take action, no one could do anything to them. However, in front of a real supremes, especially in front of Gu Fei, a quasi-supreme was extremely weak. At best, they were just slightly stronger ants. At this time, in the ancestral land of the Wood Race, Gu Fei seemed to have entered an unstoppable state. With a wave of his hand, he could kill a group of Wood Tribe experts. No one could withstand a casual attack from him. However, at this time, the great formation of the ancestral land of the Wood Race was finally activated. An incomparably bright divine light rushed out from the depths of the ancestral land of the Wood Race. In the next moment, the divine light that rushed into the sky directly exploded and turned into a huge light curtain. In an instant, the entire ancestral land of the Wood Race was shrouded in it. Buzz! Countless formation runes appeared in the sky. An ancient formation covered the entire sky. A terrifying aura of destruction came from the formation. All the Wood Tribe experts in the ancestral land of the Wood Race were terrified to the extreme. Even their souls were trembling. This was an extreme formation that could display the power of the extreme grade. In front of the extreme grade, all beings were ants. The creatures in the ancestral land of the Wood Race were naturally ants. Interesting. Gu Fei raised his head and looked at the formation in the sky with his hands behind his back. This extreme grade formation should have been laid down by the two extreme grade primogenitors of the Wood Race. Even if a real extreme grade expert were to descend, it could still resist a little. However, it was a pity. Although this killing formation was powerful, it was not as powerful as the killing formations laid down by the disheveled old man for Gu Fei. Chapter 3806. Gu Fei killed his way to the Wood Race's ancestral grounds. At the same time, the Wood Race's first ancestor had already killed his way to the ancestral mountain range. The two experts did not meet. Roar! The Wood Race's first ancestor roared into the sky, causing the entire ancestral mountain range to tremble. At this moment, the mysterious elder and the ancient demon Venerable were fighting in the ancestral mountain range. The Wind Saint Supreme had already retreated to the side, as he felt that it was beneath him to join hands with others. The god from the mountain and river cauldron was still drinking and watching the show uncomfortably. Although the disheveled old man was watching the show, the phenomenon around him was extremely shocking. Countless formation runes were faintly discernible in the void around him. With a single thought, he could summon thousands of killing formations. None of the Supremes present dared to underestimate him. Demonic universe refinement. The ancient demon Venerable roared furiously. The void that was enveloped by demonic aura shook violently, enveloping the mysterious elder as well. Roar! A black dragon circled around the mysterious elder. The black dragon constantly roared, shaking the heavens and earth. This black dragon was formed from the wooden staff in the mysterious elder's hand. It was also an extreme-grade ancestral dragon, which shocked everyone. An extreme-grade ancestral dragon was the strongest ancestral dragon in the world. It was strong enough to contend against the legendary Grand Sovereign. Everything was possible in the ancestral world. Even the disheveled old man was surprised that an extreme-grade sovereign of the dragon race had appeared before. However, this black dragon had already been refined into a Tao tool, becoming a different kind of existence. The mysterious elder was definitely one of the strongest extreme-grade sovereigns. Even the ancient demon Venerable, who had been sealed in the ancestral mountain range by the primordial sovereign for countless years, was constantly forced back by him. "Old demon, you're no longer the same as before. Just let me seal you, huh?" The mysterious elder laughed and attacked. The boundless demonic aura was directly dispersed by him. An extreme-grade chaotic energy surged from his body, shaking the heavens and earth. Chaotic Supreme? Even the disheveled old man couldn't help but be moved when he saw this. Another chaotic exalt had actually appeared in the world, and this was truly unbelievable to him. In fact, every perfect grand heaven and earth had the possibility of giving birth to an extreme Tao paragon. And perfect grand heaven and earth didn't just include the heaven realm, the human realm, the ancestral realm, the primal chaos devil realm, and the ancestral god realm. Moreover, every perfect world would give birth to more than one extreme sovereign. For example, the mortal world and heaven realm had given birth to many extreme sovereigns. The ancient Buddhist Lord, the supreme martial ancestor, and the supreme Tao ancestor were all supreme supremes from the human realm. These supremes were undefeatable in the 3 realms and 6 Tao, and they were invincible in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Only the extreme Tao supremes of the ancestral realm could suppress them. The primogenitor's realm reigned above the myriad worlds. The number of extreme Tao supremes born in the primogenitor's realm far exceeded the total number of extreme Tao supremes born in the myriad worlds. This was also why the primogenitor realm's forces could treat the universe as their hunting ground. Even a perfect grand heaven and earth like the ancestral god realm was once ruled by a force from the primogenitor's realm, not to mention the other grand heaven and earth. A primal chaos sovereign. He's actually a primal chaos sovereign. The extreme Tao supremes of the ancestral realm jumped in fright. They had a vague feeling that this mysterious old man had grasped more than one great Tao, and he wasn't just a great Tao supremacy. "Little brat, stop boasting shamelessly. When I was roaming the primogenitor's realm, who knows where you were playing with sand? You want to seal me? Unless the primordial chaos sovereign comes personally." The ancient archdevil ancestor roared madly. Blood-colored devilish light shot out from his devilish eyes, piercing towards the mysterious old man. Wherever the devilish light passed by, the void would be annihilated. The mysterious old man seemed to be slightly fearful of the devilish light that shot out from the ancient archdevil ancestor's devilish eyes. He didn't dare to face it head-on, and he kept dodging. After all, the ancient archdevil ancestor had been sealed by the primordial chaos sovereign for countless years, and his vitality was already greatly damaged. Otherwise, even if the mysterious old man was a primal chaos sovereign, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the ancient archdevil ancestor. At this moment, the first ancestor of the wood race suddenly sensed something. His expression changed drastically, and he directly turned and left. And in the Ingtian sect, the battle between the old ancestor and the wood race's Mutianen had also ended. After all, the old ancestor was one of the few quasi-supremes, and Mutianen was still slightly weaker. After a great battle, Mu Tianin was heavily injured by the old ancestor. If it wasn't for Mu Jinghong's timely arrival, Mu Tianin would have been killed by the old ancestor. Ing Tian, you have guts, actually daring to kill your way here. At the peak of the Ing Tian ancestral mountain, Mu Jinghong stared at the old ancestor opposite him as he spoke coldly. A chilling, killing intent spread out from his body, and the temperature of the entire world plummeted. Young lord. Beside Mu Jinghong's feet, a person lay paralyzed. This person was precisely Mu Tianin. At this time, Mu Tianan was in an extremely sorry state. There were actually some parts of his body that revealed the characteristics of the wood race, such as tree bark and branches. He was practically beaten back to his original form by the old ancestor. Useless guy, scram to the side. Mu Jinghong waved his right hand, and Mu Tianan flew out from the peak of the Yingtian ancestral mountain. Immediately, a figure rushed out from outside and carried him away. The old ancestor Yingtian killed his way into the Yingtian ancestral mountain and started a massacre, offending many people. This was because among those who were killed by him, not only were the wood race's experts killed, but also the experts of the forces that relied on the wood race. However, the old ancestor Yingtian didn't care. In the ancestral realm, the weak were prey to the strong. This was an eternal truth that would never change for thousands of years. As long as one's fist was strong enough, they could make everyone submit to their feet. Whoever dared to say half a word would be killed with one punch. Of course, the prerequisite was that one had to be strong enough. Just like those extreme supremes who stood at the peak of all living beings, they had this kind of ability. They didn't need to make a move. Just by standing anywhere, they could intimidate an entire region. No one dared to defy them. Mu Jinghong, I'm surprised that you're still alive. The old ancestor Yingtian suddenly looked at Mu Jinghong with a smile that wasn't a smile. The old ancestor Yingtian had already sensed the extreme Tao aura that erupted from Gu Fei and knew that Gu Fei had successfully transcended the tribulation. This Mu Jinghong actually dared to watch Gu Fei transcend the tribulation. Wasn't he courting death? However, he didn't expect that Gu Fei didn't care about Mu Jinghong at all. At this time, only extreme Tao Supremes had the qualifications to be Gu Fei's opponent. Would a dragon in the sky care about an ant on the ground? What do you mean by that? When Mu Jinghong heard this, his expression couldn't help but change. He seemed to have thought of something. Hee, what I mean is that your wood race is going to be in big trouble. The old ancestor Yingtian smiled. He had already vaguely guessed that there must be some grudge between Gu Fei and the wood race. Otherwise, Gu Fei wouldn't have come to the wood race. What? Chapter 3807. The ancestral land of the Wood Clan was definitely one of the rare treasures in the ancestral realm. The mountains here were full of tigers and dragons, and spirit she gathered here. It was actually a place formed by the heavens and earth. After countless years of cultivation by the wood race, the essence energy in the wood race's ancestral land was so thick that it was almost liquefied. If an ordinary cultivator were to cultivate here, his or her cultivation base would improve by leaps and bounds with every breath he or she took. To put it bluntly, even a pig that was thrown into the ancestral land of the Wood Clan would become an immortal after a long time. However, at this time, there was a terrifying aura in the ancestral land of the Wood Clan. In the ancestral land, there were fallen flowers and trees everywhere. These flowers and trees had all been cut by sharp weapons, and their spirit chi had all been drained. They could not be more dead. When the first ancestor of the Wood Clan rushed back and saw this scene, he almost went crazy. Roar! The first ancestor of the Wood Clan roared at the sky. The entire sky collapsed and was annihilated. This roar seemed like it was going to collapse the sky. At this time, a figure sat in the sky above the ancestral land of the Wood Clan. He opened his mouth and sucked in all the spirit chi that the ancestral land of the Wood Clan had gathered for countless years. This spirit chi was so huge that it made the person's body swell up like a ball. Even Gu Fei found it difficult to refine such a huge amount of essence chi in a short period of time. At this moment, his 9 Da sovereign martial body was still transforming. At this time, there was no longer a single Wood Clan cultivator alive in the ancestral land of the Wood Clan. All of them had been killed by Gu Fei, and their spirit chi had been devoured. Waves of divine sounds of the Great Path came from within Gu Fei's body. 9 kinds of Tao patterns of the Great Path appeared and intertwined around him in the void. Damn it! Did you kill my clansman? The first ancestor of the Wood Clan stared at Gu Fei, who was sitting in the void opposite him, and roared madly. His eyes were red. He had spent so much effort, and was about to pluck the fruit of the way, but this guy had actually beaten him to it. This feeling of working hard for someone else almost made the first ancestor of the Wood clan go crazy. Only you are allowed to kill people, but others are not allowed to kill you? Gu Fei slowly opened his eyes and looked indifferently at the first ancestor of the Wood race. It's you. At this time, the first progenitor of the Wood race finally recognized Gu Fei. On that day, he joined forces with other extreme Dao Supremes to attack Gu Fei and even used the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram, but in the end, he couldn't do anything to Gu Fei. Although the first progenitor of the Wood race was separated by two worlds, he still saw Gu Fei. The battle in the ancestral god realm had ended with the Wood race's defeat. The two great progenitors of the Wood race had been brooding over this, and they had been thinking about how to subdue this hunting ground that was the ancestral god realm. Compared to what the Wood race had done to the countless living beings in the ancestral god realm, Gu Fei wouldn't have gone overboard even if he had slaughtered all the Wood race cultivators in the Wood race's ancestral land. One had to know that the ancestral god realm under the control of the Wood race was only one of the countless hunting grounds that the Wood race controlled. When the living beings in the ancestral god realm grew strong enough, the Wood race would start hunting. That would be the true destruction of living beings. You killed my brother, didn't you? The first progenitor of the Wood race stared fiercely at Gu Fei and said while gritting his teeth. So what if I did? Gu Fei slowly stood up from the void. In the next moment, the 9 kinds of Dao patterns that circled around his body instantly rushed into his body. Then go to hell. The first progenitor of the Wood race roared and directly attacked. A terrifying aura of the extreme Dao erupted from his body, and a circle of transparent ripples instantly spread with him as the center. Swoosh! Countless thorns directly rushed out of the void and stabbed at Gu Fei from all directions at an extremely fast speed. Gu Fei didn't move, and his expression was indifferent. The moment the thorns stabbed in front of him, his body trembled, and all the thorns immediately stopped 3 feet away from him, as if they had stabbed into an invisible wall. In the next moment, an invisible power of wind erupted from Gu Fei's body. Immediately, the void seemed to have been slashed by countless invisible blades, and the thorns were cut into countless pieces and fell from the sky. What? The first progenitor of the Wood race couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this. In the next moment, a beam of divine light rushed out from the center of his brows, and a divine eye opened. In the next moment, what appeared in front of him was an overwhelming number of laws of the great Tao that swept towards him. The power of wind? Under the divine eye of the first progenitor of the Wood race, any power or law was seen through by him, and the power of the great Tao of wind was no exception. Although he couldn't see the wind, he could see the laws of the great Tao of wind. When one's cultivation reached the extreme level, the power of the great Tao was actually the power of laws. Wind was everywhere, and the first progenitor of the Wood race had no space to dodge at all. He could only face it head-on. More thorns rushed out of the void around him, and every single one of them had a golden, metallic luster. The golden thorns immediately coiled around the first progenitor's body to form a golden cocoon, protecting him within. In the next moment, the sound of metal clanging rang out, and countless wind blades slashed at the golden cocoon. Sparks flew everywhere, and the cocoon shook violently. Seeing this, Gu Fei was somewhat surprised. The first progenitor of the Wood race had actually grasped the power of 2 great Tao. Other than the power of the great Tao of wood, he had also grasped the power of the great Tao of metal. This was a sovereign of 2 great Das, and the power of wood and metal fused together. This caused the first progenitor's defense to soar to an unimaginable level. Gu Fei's power of the great Tao of wind was actually unable to break through the first progenitor's defense. Gu Fei took advantage of the fact that the power of the wind Tao had yet to completely dissipate to take a deep breath. In the next moment, his entire body nearly doubled in size. His flesh, blood, tendons, and bones instantly unleashed a terrifying power. Eat my fist. Gu Fei exhaled and instantly disappeared into the void. In the next moment, when he reappeared, he was already in front of the golden cocoon of the first progenitor of the Wood race. Without any hesitation, Gu Fei directly threw out a new attack that surpassed his limits, the extremity-breaking fist. Bam! With a muffled sound, Gu Fei's fist fiercely slammed into the golden cocoon. In the next moment, countless cracks immediately appeared on the golden cocoon. Boom! Chapter 3808. Gu Fei struck out with the extremity-shattering fist and directly blasted the golden cocoon of the Wood Clan's first progenitor, sending him flying. How is this possible? The Wood Clan's first progenitor was in disbelief. How could this guy be so powerful? He was a new sovereign who had just passed the extreme sovereign tribulation. However, the battle prowess displayed by this newly ascended supreme martial artist was much stronger than those veteran supreme martial artists who had lived for countless years. The Wood Clan's first progenitor was originally very confident. After all, he was a dual-path sovereign and had mastered the wood and metal great paths. With the two great paths combined, he could dominate the ancestral realm. But now, he was sent flying by a little guy with a single punch. He was going crazy. At this time, after Gu Fei punched out with the extreme breaking fist, his entire body shrunk like a deflated balloon. His swollen muscles shrunk rapidly. The extreme breaking fist consumed a large amount of Gu Fei's essence. With his current cultivation, he could only punch out 5 or 6 more times before he couldn't take it anymore. Boom! At this time, the Wood Clan's first progenitor crashed into a mountain. In the next moment, the entire mountain crumbled and dust rose into the sky. Roar! The Wood Clan's first progenitor roared and rushed into the sky. The power of wood and metal erupted from his body. A golden figure with vines wrapped around his body appeared in the sky. The gigantic Dharma idol crushed the entire sky, causing it to shatter. The Dharma that emerged from the Wood Clan's first progenitor was indeed shocking. However, Gu Fei only smiled at this scene. His face was still indifferent. Looks like my brother's death was not undeserved. I didn't expect you to have such heaven-defying combat power when you just became an extreme sovereign. If I don't kill you now, what will happen when you grow? The Wood Clan's first progenitor was in a sorry state. His clothes were torn, and there was blood seeping out of many places. That was the Wood Clan's first progenitor's blood essence. The extreme sovereign's blood essence was incredible. To an alchemist, the extreme sovereign's blood essence was as precious as an immortal divine medicine. It could be used to make great medicines. Gu Fei had previously refined the second ancestor of the Wood Clan into extreme Taodan. The life force contained in these extreme supremes, which were cultivated from plants and vegetation, was much more astonishing than that of ordinary supremes. Due to their powerful life force, they were much harder to kill than ordinary supremes. The reason why Gu Fei was able to kill the second ancestor of the Wood Clan was because the power of the great path of samsara was too great. It directly stripped the second ancestor of his cultivation and battle prowess. However, the first progenitor's cultivation and battle prowess were clearly much greater than the second progenitor's. The power of reincarnation might not be able to do anything to him. Previously, he was able to destroy the second progenitor of the wood race with a single punch, but this first progenitor of the wood race was not destroyed by his punch. Want to kill me? Let's see if you have the ability. Gu Fei coldly stared at the first progenitor of the wood race. Ha ha ha! The first progenitor of the Wood Clan suddenly laughed. In the next moment, the entire world suddenly darkened. It was as if night had come in an instant. The entire world suddenly became so dark that one couldn't even see their own fingers. Gu Fei fiercely raised his head. At the same time, an extreme level of primal chaos power descended from the sky. The entire world was collapsing, as if it was being crushed by an invisible hand. Primal chaos heaven sealing diagram? Gu Fei was shocked. He was not unfamiliar with this aura. In the ancestral god realm, he and the first progenitor of the wood race had fought across the sky. The first progenitor of the wood race had used the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram to resist the power of the ancestral god realm's heavenly punishment. The fact that the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram could resist the power of the ancestral god realm's heavenly punishment was enough to show how powerful and extraordinary this extreme Tao artifact was. At this moment, the power of the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram suppressed all directions, sealing off all paths of retreat for Gu Fei. The current him was like a fish in a fishing net. "Little fellow, die." The first progenitor of the wood race roared madly. He desperately activated the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram. An ancient primal chaos Tao diagram appeared around Gu Fei, and then it obliterated him. Everything in the path of the primal chaos Tao diagram was annihilated. Everything ceased to exist in an instant. It was obliterated by the power of primal chaos. Gu Fei did not speak. His expression turned solemn. The primal chaos heaven sealing diagram was known to be able to seal the heavens. The power of this extreme Tao artifact could not be underestimated. If he had the mountain and river cauldron, he naturally would not be afraid of this primal chaos heaven sealing diagram. However, the problem was that the disheveled old man had used all his extreme Tao artifacts to set up the formation before his tribulation. He only had 2 extreme Tao artifacts, the 9 heavenly star sword and the sky blue immortal gold battle robe. At this moment, the power of primal chaos obliterated him from all directions. An extreme divine light emerged from Gu Fei's body, blocking the vast and mighty chaotic brain. The sky blue immortal gold battle robe radiated with extreme divine light. Streaks of extreme Tao grade Tao patterns emerged and interweaved on the battle robe, constantly releasing a powerful protective power. Gu Fei did not dare to be negligent. He flipped his right hand, and the 9 heavenly star sword immediately appeared in his hand. In the next moment, he directly slashed with the sword. An extremely sharp sword light instantly rushed out from Gu Fei's hand. However, when the sword light rushed out, it was as if it had fallen into a swamp. Its speed immediately slowed down. Before it could slash the Wood Clan's first progenitor, it collapsed in the void. Seeing this scene, Gu Fei could not help but be moved. The power of the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram could actually suppress the 9 heavenly star sword. A top extreme Tao artifact was indeed powerful. Haha, now you know how powerful I am. The Wood Clan's first progenitor laughed. No one knew the power of the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram better than him. Is it very powerful? Gu Fei said disapprovingly. Although the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram was powerful, he still had a trump card that he had not used yet. Still stubborn? I will make sure that you won't even be able to cry later. The Wood Clan's first progenitor roared. Afterwards, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood onto the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram. Rumble. In the next moment, the chaotic force that erupted from the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram instantly increased by 10 times. What? Gu Fei was shocked. The chaotic force that had increased by 10 times was obliterated. The protective light around him was immediately compressed to less than half a foot in front of him. Buzz. The sky blue immortal gold battle robe on Gu Fei vibrated. Countless extreme Tao patterns appeared on the battle robe and interweaved into Tao diagrams. An even more powerful extreme force erupted from the sky blue immortal gold battle robe. The god of the sky blue immortal gold battle robe was putting his life on the line. He released the extreme force as if his life depended on it to resist the chaotic force of the primal chaos heaven sealing diagram. Chapter 3809. The primal chaos Fengtian diagram was definitely one of the top extreme Tao artifacts in the primal god realm. It could contend against the power of heavenly punishment. The power of heavenly punishment could easily kill an extreme Tao supremacy. Even the strongest extreme Tao supremacy in the primal god realm would not dare to challenge the power of heavenly punishment. An extreme Tao supremacy was a supreme existence that stood above all living beings in the universe. Being able to kill an extreme Tao supremacy was enough to show how powerful and terrifying the power of heavenly punishment was. It could intimidate an extreme Tao supremacy and make them not dare to enter a place with the power of heavenly punishment. It was also because of the existence of the power of heavenly punishment that the major forces in the primal god realm could no longer control those places. Rumble. Endless chaotic power rushed towards Gu Fei from all directions. The power of the primal chaos Fengtian diagram was unimaginably powerful. If it was an ordinary extreme grade supremacy, they would have been obliterated by the power of the primal chaos sky sealing diagram, and their bodies and souls would have been destroyed. However, The person that the wood race's first progenitor used the primal chaos Fengtian diagram to deal with was Gu Fei, a supremacy of the Nine Paths and a living legend. In books, a supremacy of the Nine Paths was a legend. The void around Gu Fei was sealed by the chaotic power. The primal chaos Fengtian diagram turned into an ancient primal chaos Dao diagram and trapped him within. Ha ha ha. Supremacy of the Nine Paths? Legend of the extreme Dao? It's all a joke. Today, I'll kill a supremacy of the Nine Paths for the world to see. The wood race's first progenitor roared crazily. At this moment, the aura of the extreme Dao supremacy started to appear in the distant sky. Some extreme Dao supremacy had already arrived nearby to watch the battle. The shockwaves produced by the battle between extreme Dao experts were too powerful. Once the extreme Dao supremacy erupted, all living beings in the entire region would sense it. Especially those extreme Dao supremacy, some of them directly came to the vicinity of the wood race's ancestral land. Of course, the appearance of the ancient Devil Lord attracted the attention of most of the extreme Dao supremacy. The battle between Gu Fei and the wood race's first progenitor only attracted a small portion of the extreme Dao supremacy's attention. "Want to kill me?" Haha. Gu Fei laughed heartily. He had to admit that the primal chaos sky sealing diagram was very strong, but he wasn't someone to be trifled with. He was a supreme being of the Nine Paths. There was a reason why the Supremes of the Nine Paths were called legends in the primogenitor realm. "What other tricks do you have? Still being stubborn? If you obediently accept your death, you might die a more comfortable death." The wood race's primogenitor sat cross-legged in the void and activated the chaos sky sealing diagram with all his might. At this moment, the primal chaos Fengtian diagram was continuously devouring the essence of the earth. The first progenitor of the wood race had drawn the power of the earth. This way, the primal chaos Fengtian diagram's power had multiplied. "I've underestimated you. I didn't expect you to have grasped the grand Tao of earth." Gu Fei's expression turned serious. This first progenitor of the Wood clan had hidden his strength well. This guy wasn't a supreme of the second path, but a supreme of the third path. In the entire primogenitor realm, the number of extreme-grade sovereigns that grasped 3 perfect great Daos could be counted on one hand. A supreme of the third path was much more powerful than a supreme of the 2 paths. The two were not on the same level at all. At this moment, a divine sound of the great Tao rang out from Gu Fei's body. 9 paths hummed and 9 perfect great Daos erupted from his body. There were 9 types of great Tao, and each great Tao had 9 supreme Tao patterns. In other words, there were a total of 81 supreme Tao patterns intertwining around Gu Fei at this moment, and every Tao pattern was emitting a supreme great Tao power. The power of the 9 ways clashed with one another, actually pushing aside the chaotic force that had been annihilated from all directions. However, Gu Feidong was taking a huge risk by using these 9 types of great path powers. Once he lost control of these 9 types of great path powers, he would be the first to suffer. Seeing this, the first progenitor of the Wood race was dumbfounded. He had activated the chaos sky sealing diagram with all his might, but he still couldn't do anything to this guy. The extreme grade legend really lives up to his name. An extreme grade sovereign side in the distant sky. The first progenitor of the Wood race had used the chaos sky sealing diagram, yet he still couldn't do anything to Gu Fei. This was truly unbelievable. The chaos sky sealing diagram was a famous extreme grade Tao artifact in the primogenitor realm. 9 Daos unite to break chaos. Gu Fei roared and circulated the 9 Daos power with all his might. His clothes immediately swelled up. The sky blue immortal gold battle armor on him shone with the most resplendent divine light of the great Tao and enveloped him. He seemed to be straining himself. Bean-sized beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. His body emitted the sound of wind and thunder as his blood circulated at an extremely fast speed. Mobilizing the 9 Daos power was much more difficult than moving a primordial divine mountain. One had to know that these were perfect great Tao patterns. Every great Tao pattern could crush the ages. Ordinary supremes were simply ants before the 9 Daos. The 9 Daos unite. The power of the 9 perfect great Tao patterns frantically gathered on Gu Fei's fist. "Break it for me." Gu Fei roared and directly punched out with the 9 Unite. The speed of this punch instantly broke through the limits. The 9 Unite allowed him to use the extreme breaking fist. In the next moment, a terrifying divine light rushed out from Gu Fei's fist. This punch actually broke through the chaos sky ceiling diagram and rushed out. That wasn't all. The terrifying fist force of the extreme breaking fist spread out in all directions, scattering the chaotic energy that had gathered. At this moment, Gu Fei's long hair danced wildly. His extreme grade god might was shocking. This was simply domineering. How is this possible? Looking at the countless chaos Tao patterns crumbling in the void, the first progenitor of the wood race was dumbfounded. He didn't expect his opponent to be this strong. He had already overestimated Gu Fei. However, he realized that he had still underestimated Gu Fei. The extreme grade supremes who were watching from afar were completely dumbfounded. Am I seeing things? He actually broke through the seal of the chaos sky ceiling diagram? Someone exclaimed in shock. The 9 Supremes were too strong. Even though they had just become extreme grade Supremes, they could already compete with the first progenitor of the wood race, who was a veteran extreme grade Supremes. Swoosh. Without any hesitation, Gu Fei rushed out from the seal of the chaos sky ceiling diagram and directly slashed at the first progenitor of the wood race. Buzz. A loud sound came from the body of the first progenitor of the wood race. Then, a ball of golden radiance enveloped him. Gu Fei's sword actually broke through the void of heaven and earth. It was as though the sword had split the entire heaven and earth skin city into two. It was incomparably shocking. The sword that Gu Fei slashed out landed on the head of the first progenitor of the wood race. It directly broke through the layer of golden radiance and continued to descend slowly. Chapter 38:10. The power of the 9 as one was too powerful. Gu Fei actually broke through the seal of the primal chaos Fengtian diagram and rushed out. Then, he slashed at the wood race's first progenitor's head. Swoosh. The sword rainbow shocked the sky and soared for millions of miles. It was as if this sword could split the entire world in half. The chilly sword chi spread out, and the temperature of the entire world seemed to drop rapidly. Even the few extreme grade supremes who were watching the battle from 100,000 miles away felt the sword chi rushing towards them. Their faces felt as if a sharp blade had scratched them, causing them to feel a dull pain. What a powerful sword chi! What a powerful sword intent! An extreme grade supremacy exclaimed. The power of Gu Fei's sword strike was extremely powerful. Even the wood race's first progenitor's protective divine light couldn't block it. At this moment, the wood race's first progenitor was in a sorry state. He desperately activated the power in his body, and the protective divine light immediately became incomparably resplendent. However, this was of no use. The sword light above the wood race's first progenitor's head was still descending. It was less than a foot away from the wood race's first progenitor's head. The wood race's first progenitor couldn't help but be moved. His forehead was full of sweat. Damn it! The wood race's first progenitor roared continuously. He frantically circulated the power of the 3 great Das. The power of the 3 great Das erupted, and then he activated the power of the 3 great Das of the world. At this moment, the wood race's first progenitor seemed to have transformed into the perfect great Das of the 3 great Das. His entire body emitted the power of the great Das. These 3 powers of the great path turned into countless vines, entangling the sword light that was descending from above. Finally, the sword light stopped descending. However, at this moment, the wood race's first progenitor actually felt exhausted. At this moment, Gu Fei waved his right hand. The primal chaos Fengtian diagram that had already revealed its true form in the void immediately flew towards him. He grabbed it in his hand. Primal chaos Fengtian diagram. Gu Fei looked at the diagram in his hand and saw that there was actually a fist imprint on it. This fist imprint was gradually disappearing. The primal chaos Fengtian diagram was repairing itself. Just now, Gu Fei's punch had greatly impacted the primal chaos Fengtian diagram. I'll send you to hell. Without hesitation, Gu Fei took a step forward and arrived in front of the first progenitor of the Wood Clan. He then punched the progenitor in the chest. Bam! In the next moment, the first progenitor of the Wood Clan was smashed into pieces by Gu Fei's seemingly casual punch and turned into a mist of blood. At the same time that Gu Fei turned the first progenitor of the Wood race into a mist of blood with a single punch, the forefather of Ying Tian and Mu Jinghong were engaged in a fierce battle at the peak of the Ying Tian sect's ancestral mountain. The two experts were evenly matched. Who do you think will win? That's hard to say. Their cultivation and battle prowess are equally matched. It's very likely that both sides will suffer heavy injuries in the end. The experts from the other forces who were watching the battle from afar were discussing in low voices. These people couldn't see anything, because even the strongest existence among them was much weaker than old ancestor Ying Tian and Mu Jinghong. Everyone was guessing. At this time, at the peak of Ying Tian Ancestral Mountain, old ancestor Ying Tian was fighting more and more fiercely. However, Mu Jinghong was getting more and more frightened as he fought because he sensed his father's aura. What's going on? Why is that guy fighting with father? Mu Jinghong did not expect that Gu Fei would go straight to the Wood Clan's ancestral land and kill all the Wood Clan cultivators in the Wood Clan's ancestral land. The supremacy of the 9 paths was a myth. During the heavenly tribulation, the power of the heavenly tribulation reached an unimaginable level. If it was an ordinary supremacy, they would have fallen under the heavenly tribulation. However, Gu Fei endured it and became the legendary supremacy of the 9 paths. The benefits of undergoing the heavenly tribulation in the ancestral mountain were now being displayed by Gu Fei. This was something that even Gu Fei didn't expect. Haha, Mu Jinghong, if you obediently accept your death, I'll leave your corpse intact. How about it? Old ancestor Ying Tian laughed. Hearing this, Mu Jinghong's expression became frighteningly gloomy. Naturally, he wouldn't be stupid enough to surrender, let alone obediently let old ancestor Ying Tian kill him. Chaos of heaven and earth. Mu Jinghong let out a furious roar and immediately unleashed the Wood Clan's killer move. In the next moment, it was as if the entire world had been turned upside down, and all the killer moves that were hurtling towards him were all drawn to the side. The secret technique used by this descendant of the Wood Clan's supremacy seemed to have the same effect as the Chaos Reversal Secret Technique, one of the 9 secrets of the Immortal Tao. This, old ancestor Ying Tian's eyes couldn't help but narrow when he saw this. At the end of the day, the Wood Clan was a super clan that had existed for countless years. The Wood Clan's foundation was very deep, and for countless years, there was almost no force that could shake this behemoth. But now, Gu Fei's sudden appearance had directly broken the balance of power in the ancestral realm. The ancestral realm was about to fall into chaos again. The ancestral realm reigned above the myriad worlds. Once the ancestral realm fell into chaos, the major forces in the ancestral realm wouldn't have the energy to run their hunting grounds. This was also an opportunity for the countless beings in the myriad worlds. Whoosh! Old ancestor Ying Tian directly disappeared into the void, and when he reappeared, he was already 10 miles away, just out of the range of Mu Jinghong's Chaos Universe secret technique. Sky-defying slash. Mu Jinghong didn't want to tangle with old ancestor Ying Tian anymore, so he immediately used another killer move. A divine light instantly flashed through the void. In the next moment, old ancestor Ying Tian was actually cut in half, and his corpse fell from the sky. The experts who were watching the battle from afar were shocked by this scene. No one would have thought that this evenly matched battle would end so quickly. Like an ant. Mu Jinghong sneered and turned to leave. Who are you calling an ant? At this moment, a voice was heard. Mu Jinghong couldn't help but be shocked when he heard this voice. He quickly turned in the direction of the voice, only to see that old ancestor Ying Tian hadn't been killed by him and was looking at him with disdain. How is this possible? Mu Jinghong couldn't believe it. One had to know that there was only one outcome for a quasi-supreme who was struck by his sky-defying slash secret technique, and that was the destruction of both body and soul. However, this old ancestor Ying Tian was still alive? He didn't seem to be injured at all. At this moment, old ancestor Ying Tian's corpse that had fallen from the sky actually disappeared. Incarnation? Mu Jinghong stared at old ancestor Ing Tian opposite him and said coldly, "Hee hee." Old ancestor Ing Tian smiled and didn't say anything. The old ancestor Ing Tian that Mu Jinghong had struck with his secret technique was just an incarnation of old ancestor Ing Tian. This was a secret technique that used incarnations to replace death. However, when he thought of the danger just now, the smile on old ancestor Ing Tian's face immediately disappeared. Mu Jinghong, the one who will die today will definitely be you. As old ancestor Ing Tian spoke, the aura on his body instantly surged, and the mighty energy waves from his body impacted the surrounding void, causing it to constantly vibrate. Chapter 38:11. Heaven-defying slash. Mu Jinghong didn't waste any more words with ancestor Ing Tian. He immediately launched a fierce attack towards the ancestor Ing Tian, and a near-immortal divine light flashed across the void. Without any suspense, ancestor Ing Tian was once again struck by Mu Jinghong's secret technique. He couldn't dodge it even if he wanted to. However, ancestor Ing Tian wasn't killed just like that. His corpse, which had been split into two, fell from the sky and disappeared into the void before it even hit the ground. In the next moment, a figure appeared high up in the sky. He's using a clone to die in his place again? Mu Jinghong was both shocked and furious. This guy actually had such a secret technique. It really wasn't easy to kill him. After all, ancestor Ing Tian was the founding ancestor of the Ing Tian sect and had lived for countless years. If he didn't have a few life-saving secret techniques, no one would believe him. A quasi-supreme existence would at least have one or two life-saving secret techniques. It should be known that such life-saving secret techniques could save one's life in a critical moment. Mu Jinghong, you're really something. Ancestor Ing Tian was even more shocked. The Wood Clan's secret technique was shockingly powerful. Even with his cultivation, he still couldn't dodge that near-immortal divine light of annihilation. This couldn't go on. It should be known that this kind of cloning technique consumed a lot of vitality. Every time he was slashed, his vitality would be damaged. If he was slashed more than 10 times, even if ancestor Ing Tian was stronger, he wouldn't be able to hold on. Die. Old ancestor Ing Tian let out a furious roar, and an extremely terrifying quasi-supreme level energy fluctuation erupted from his body. A figure directly rushed out from his body and pounced directly towards Mu Jinghong, who was opposite him. What's this? When Mu Jinghong saw this, he was shocked. The blurry figure was extremely fast and had directly pounced in front of him. He could only feel a cold and gloomy aura assaulting his body, and he could not help but shiver. Chaotic universe. Mu Jinghong saw that it was too late to dodge, so he directly used the chaotic universe secret technique. In the next moment, the void around him began to tremble. The black shadow that was pouncing towards Mu Jinghong crashed into the void that was constantly vibrating around Mu Jinghong and disappeared in an instant. What? Ancestor Ing Tian was shocked. His shadow clones had never failed before. As long as his shadow clones pounced on someone, they would be able to instantly devour that person's essence, chi, and spirit. Even their primordial spirit would not be able to escape. This kind of secret technique was very powerful. When the black shadow clone devoured the opponent's power, it was equivalent to him devouring the opponent's power. His own cultivation would increase greatly. Therefore, the experts in the ancestral land of Ing Tian obediently flew away. Soon, the experts from the various forces gathered in the ancestral land of Ing Tian had all left. A battle between supreme beings was naturally more attractive than a battle between quasi-supreme beings. As the news spread, many experts directly went to the ancestral land of the Wood Clan. At this time, in the ancestral land of the Wood Clan, two supreme beings were fighting. Gu Fei blasted the first ancestor of the Wood Clan into a cloud of blood mist with one punch. The first ancestor of the Wood Clan did not die, but his vitality was unavoidable. This guy, the figure of the first ancestor of the Wood Clan, appeared in the void. At this time, he looked a little tired. Gu Fei's punch had injured him quite badly. Samsara Eye. Gu Fei directly used this secret technique. In the next moment, the power of Samsara immediately surged out of his eyes. The entire world seemed to be on the verge of destruction. In the next moment, the first ancestor of the Wood clan turned into a young boy under the power of samsara. In the next instant, he turned into a scarlet tree that was only a foot tall. What? The extreme grade supremes who were watching from afar were shocked by this scene. This guy had actually grasped the great Tao of reincarnation. He had directly sent the Wood race's first primogenitor into reincarnation, causing him to revert to his original form. The power of samsara could beat a peak expert back to their weakest state. It was as if time had been reversed, and everything had returned to the past. Chapter 38:12. Gu Fei was a paragon of the 9 paths and grasped the power of 9 perfect great Das. Even in the primogenitor's realm, he was a legendary existence. At this moment, the ultimate power of samsara erupted from Gu Fei's eyes. It actually forced the first progenitor of the Wood race back to his original state. The power of reincarnation directly stripped the Wood clan's first progenitor of his extreme grade cultivation. However, in the next moment, the scarlet blood tree that was enveloped by the reincarnation force suddenly began to shake. An extreme aura erupted from the scarlet blood tree. Boom! The divine might of the extreme path exploded, and a shocking change happened to the crimson blood tree. The tree actually blocked the corrosion of the reincarnation power and recovered its extreme path cultivation. This guy, Gu Fei, was shocked. The first progenitor of the Wood race was much stronger than the second progenitor he killed. Even the second progenitor couldn't resist his reincarnation power. If reincarnation doesn't work, then let's use primal chaos. In the next moment, a chaotic power of the great path erupted from his body. In just an instant, the space around him collapsed. This was the eruption of the power of the great Tao of chaos that Gu Fei had mastered. He seemed to have transformed into a supreme chaos god who had come from the primordial era. The divine might of the great Tao on his body was enough to crush the ages, and even a wisp of chaos energy could wipe out a mountain range. Rumble! Both of Gu Fei's palms were like a millstone, crushing the scarlet blood wondrous tree that was bursting with godly might between his palms, wanting to obliterate it. The scarlet blood mystic tree seemed to have taken root in the primordial chaos, and it seemed to be supporting the endless primordial chaos. But at this moment, fine cracks appeared on the scarlet blood wondrous tree, as if it could crumble at any moment. However, the first ancestor of the Wood race was a sovereign of the 3 paths after all. He grasped the 3 perfect paths of metal, wood, and earth. The power of the 3 paths erupted from the tree, actually blocking Gu Fei's chaotic force. Fine, I want to see how long you can last. Gu Fei made up his mind and directly used the 9 perfect great Tao powers that he had mastered one after another. This way, the first progenitor of the Wood race would be out of luck. The Wood race's first progenitor's aura gradually weakened, and it looked like he was about to be obliterated. Just as Gu Fei was about to use primordial annihilation to kill the first progenitor of the Wood race, 9 terrifying figures suddenly appeared around him. They froze the space and surrounded him. The little fellow's cultivation is crazy. An old man in white robes, the leader of the group, stepped forward and roared at Gu Fei. A terrifying might erupted from the old man's body. With a single roar, it seemed as if the heavens and earth would collapse. Even Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved by the presence of the 9 extreme grade supremes. So what if I'm arrogant? Gu Fei coldly looked at the old man and said. The old man's entire body was surrounded by lightning and emitted a terrifying aura of destruction. Hurry up and release Taoist Brother Mu. Otherwise, I'll destroy both your body and soul. A middle-aged man in black robes shouted at Gu Fei. The 9 extreme grade supremes were all here. So what if this person was a supremacy of the 9 paths? Could he really fight against them? Yes, I'll release him right away. Gu Fei pretended to be flustered. At least you know what's good for you. The middle-aged man in black robes said arrogantly. Before them, even a supremacy of the 9 paths had to lower his head. If he didn't, he would die. However, in the next moment, the supremacy of the 9 paths and the other supremacy of the 9 paths were enraged. The supremacy of the 9 paths' eyes reddened. Gu Fei looked at him and smirked. Then, with a wave of his right hand, he gathered the power of the primordial annihilation and sliced the crimson blood tree that was the wood race's first progenitor into two. The nine supremacy of the nine paths watched in disbelief as the crimson blood tree that was the wood race's first progenitor turned into dust and completely dissipated in the air. The wood race's first progenitor, a supreme existence that had dominated the ancestral realm for countless years and had the power to control the lives and deaths of billions of living beings, was killed just like that. His body and soul were both destroyed. This was an extreme grade supremacy of the nine paths, someone who had grasped three perfect great das. The nine supremacy of the nine paths gasped at this scene. This young man was incredible. He dared to kill the wood race's first progenitor even though he was surrounded by them. The nine supremacy of the nine paths were all extremely shrewd existences. They were all super antiques that had lived for countless years. The moment Gu Fei killed the wood race's first progenitor, they had already thought of everything. The supremacy of the nine paths was a legend of the extreme grade. Was this legend really that heaven-defying? Was he already invincible after becoming a supremacy of the nine paths? Although they didn't believe it, Gu Fei had killed two of the wood race's extreme grade supremacy of the nine paths. This was something they had no choice but to believe. This young man is already so ferocious now. If we allow him to grow, will there still be a place for us in the ancestral realm? The nine supremacy of the nine paths glanced at each other. They all wanted to kill Gu Fei. You guys want to gang up on me? Gu Fei smiled nonchalantly. Although he was surrounded by the nine supremacy of the nine paths, he didn't panic. This made the nine supremacy of the nine paths a little uncertain. After all, they were facing a supremacy of the nine paths, a legend among the extreme grade supremacy. No one knew how powerful this supreme existence who had grasped nine perfect great Daos was. If they were wrong and couldn't kill this young man, the nine supremacy of the nine paths would have to face Gu Fei's crazy revenge. The wood race would be the best outcome. Kill. The leader of the lightning Dao sovereign roared. His voice was like a clap of thunder. In the next moment, countless purple lightning balls rushed out of his body and bombarded towards Gu Fei. A terrifying aura of destruction spread out, causing the souls of countless living beings in the surrounding tens of thousands of miles to tremble in extreme fear. The wrath of a supremacy could destroy heaven and earth. This was no joke. The Thunder Path supremacy had already restrained himself. Otherwise, countless living beings near the wood race's ancestral land would have died under his extreme divine might. Seeing the Thunder Path supremacy make a move, the other supremacies had no choice but to bite the bullet. This was because they had helped the wood race's primogenitor attack Gu Fei in the previous inter-realm battle in the ancestral god realm. Karma had formed between them and Gu Fei a long time ago. Now that Gu Fei had become a supremacy of the nine paths, he would definitely target them at the first opportunity. The fate of the wood race was the best proof. When the nine supremacy of the nine paths attacked, even a great world would be directly destroyed. In the next moment, the wood race's ancestral land exploded. Boundless destructive power engulfed Gu Fei. Chapter 38:13. In the wood race's ancestral land, the nine supremes attacked at the same time and directly destroyed the wood race's ancestral land. The terrifying power of supremes spread out and the entire world collapsed. Although the ancestral ground of the wood race was protected by a supreme formation, it still couldn't withstand the power of the nine great supremes. Not only the entire ancestral ground of the wood race, but even the area around the ancestral ground of the wood race was directly erased from the world. Endless mountains and countless living beings were directly torn to pieces by this power. Even the powerful beings that relied on the wood race couldn't retaliate at all. Many powerful races gathered around the wood race's ancestral land. These races relied on the wood race to survive, and there was no lack of quasi-supreme existences among them. However, even quasi-supreme existences were like ants before the power of the nine supremes. The moment the extreme Tao's power spread out, even quasi-supreme existences would be annihilated. The nine races that relied on the wood race were also completely annihilated in an instant. Mu Jinghong, who had just rushed back, couldn't help but be shocked, furious, and in despair when he saw this scene. The wood race's ancestral land was completely destroyed. The entire ancestral land turned into a primal chaos. Nothing could survive under the power of the Nine Supremes. Everything would be destroyed. In other words, the wood race was truly done for this time. Thinking of this, Mu Jinghong couldn't help but roar at the sky. However, he was directly ignored by the Nine Supremes. Although Mu Jinghong was a descendant of a Supreme, he was no different from an ant in their eyes. With the death of the wood race's two primogenitor Supremes, Mu Jinghong fell from the clouds to the ground. His former glory, where even supreme existences would have to be polite to him, was no more. In the primogenitor's realm, where the strong preyed on the weak, only the strong would be respected by others. The weak had no status at all, and their life and death were in the hands of the strong. Mu Jinghong gritted his teeth and directly turned around to leave. He had a forbidden artifact on him that could resist the extreme Tao's power. As for the others, they did not dare to approach at all. Even so, there were still quite a few people who suffered from 8 lifetimes of bad luck. They had just arrived, and before they knew anything, their bodies and souls were destroyed by the mighty extreme Tao God Might, and they died on the spot. It was good to watch the show, but not everyone could watch the show. With the primogenitor of the wood race as the center, the land within a radius of 10 million miles was directly razed to the ground. The 9 supreme beings attacked without any scruples. Such supreme beings basically didn't care about the lives and deaths of weak living beings. At this time, Gu Fei's supreme martial body was directly destroyed by the 9 supremes. However, the moment Gu Fei's martial body exploded, 9 forces instantly erupted. The 9 streams of power turned into an irresistible flood that surged out. The 9 supremes were caught off guard and were sent flying thousands of miles away by the power. What? The leading lightning Tao sovereign couldn't help but be startled. These 9 Tao sovereigns were truly formidable. With all 9 of them coming out at the same time, who could stop them? Even if it was in existence at the peak of the extreme Tao, he might not be able to take down this fella. What scared the 9 supremes the most was that this fella was only a low-level supreme being, but his battle strength was ridiculously strong. One should know that there was a difference in strength between the extreme Tao sovereigns. A mid-level supreme being could definitely crush a low-level supreme being like a dog. But right now, a low-level supreme being was crushing a mid-level supreme being like a dog. This was simply too monstrous. In the next moment, Gu Fei instantly reassembled his martial body. A powerful aura of extreme Tao burst out from his body. He took a step forward and instantly appeared before the lightning Tao sovereign. Breaking Extremity Fist. Without hesitation, Gu Fei struck out with the Breaking Extremity Fist. This fist technique only had one move and only one punch. With a single punch, one could unleash a power that surpassed one's limits. In fact, this was the strengthened version of the Heaven Ascension secret skill. What? The lightning Tao sovereign was shocked. He hurriedly crossed his arms in front of him to protect himself. The speed of the opponent's fist was too fast for him to dodge in time. Bam! Kacha! Bang! 3 sounds could be heard at the same time. Gu Fei's fist landed on the lightning Tao sovereign's arms, causing his bones to shatter instantly. The final sound was the lightning Tao sovereign's body exploding into a bloody mist. It was just a single punch, a simple and direct punch, yet it had the power to turn something rotten into something magical. Even a mid-level supreme, being like the lightning Tao sovereign, could not withstand a single punch from Gu Fei. The other 8 supremes were shocked to see this. How could this fella be so strong that even Boss Thunder was no match for him? Rumble. The power of the lightning Tao exploded. Within the bloody mist that the lightning Tao sovereign had turned into, streaks of blood-colored lightning flickered continuously, emitting a terrifying aura of destruction. Gu Fei still wanted to attack and slay the lightning Tao sovereign. However, at that moment, the 8 great supremes made their move once again. This time, they actually took out their self-refined ultimate god weapons. Boom! A huge seal descended from the sky and slammed down on Gu Fei's head. The extreme god might that was released from the seal seemed to be able to crush the world. At the same time, the long whip in the hands of an extreme being turned into a colorful snake that coiled around Gu Fei. The body of the snake emitted black gas from time to time. This supreme was known as the Myriad Poisons Supreme. The whip in his hand had been smelted with the most poisonous substance in the world, yin-yang chaos. Gu Fei directly displayed the great Tao of yin and yang. He held a ball of black light in his left hand and a ball of white light in his right. He circled his hands before him, and a yin-yang diagram of yin and yang immediately appeared before him. The Supreme Being's attacks that were aimed at him were all repelled. The Supremes hurriedly dodged to the side. However, above Gu Fei's head, the juniors and the two Supremes who attacked from both sides failed to defend themselves. However, Gu Fei's yin-yang chaos erupted and enveloped his entire body. This was the strengthened version of the chaotic secret technique. In the next moment, all the extreme Tao weapons that were smashing in front of Gu Fei were all reversed. Boom! In the distance, a towering mountain that pierced through the clouds was directly swept by the extreme Tao treasure. It was directly reduced to dust and completely disappeared from the world. Breaking the extreme with a sword, Gu Fei did not hesitate and immediately displayed his strongest move. He smelted the myriad Taos and created his own killing technique. The extreme Tao-level sword Wei power instantly chopped down in front of the 8 great Supremes. So fast, the 8 Supremes quickly dodged. However, they had severely underestimated the power of Gu Fei's sword. The 8 sword lights struck the 8 Supremes at the same time. 3 Supremes were actually cut in half by Gu Fei's sword at the waist. The other Supremes were more or less injured and bleeding. This kind of extreme Tao injury was the most difficult to treat. The 8 Supremes who were struck by Gu Fei's sword were also bleeding like ordinary people. Good Lord! The 8 Supremes were inexplicably shocked. At this time, because the 8 Supremes blocked Gu Fei's attack, the Thunder Supremes had already reconstructed his physical body and came back to life. Roar! With a roar, he directly turned into a purple lightning bolt and charged at Gu Fei at an extremely fast speed. The Thunder Supremes was really angry. He was in existence at the middle level of the extreme Tao, but his body was actually blown up by a punch. No one would believe it if he were to tell others. However, to the Thunder Supreme's shock, Gu Fei's body swayed and actually turned into a lightning bolt and charged forward. Boom! With a loud bang, the 2 bolts of lightning instantly collided with each other, causing an earth-shattering noise. The terrifying power rippled out, and the surrounding void immediately turned into chaotic nothingness. In the next moment, the 2 figures instantly separated, but immediately attacked each other again. Soon, the Thunder Supremes was sent flying again. At this time, the 8 Supremes had already forced out the sword principle power that Gu Fei had injected into their bodies, instantly restoring their powerful extreme Tao cultivation. Kill! The 8 Supremes stopped Gu Fei, not allowing him to chase after the Thunder Supremes. Since you guys want to die, then I'll help you. Gu Fei gritted his teeth and directly displayed the heaven-treading steps. In an instant, he disappeared into the void, moving at an extremely fast speed, and directly threw 8 punches. In the next moment, 8 clouds of blood mist appeared in the void. Gu Fei actually instantly threw 8 extreme breaking fists, blasting the 8 Supremes into blood mist. However, even so, the extreme Tao Supreme would not die. However, Gu Fei immediately displayed the reincarnation Great Tao power, instantly reducing the cultivation of the 8 Supremes. Some of the Supremes were directly beaten back to their original state. Among the 9 Supremes who attacked Gu Fei, 3 of them were Supremes of the human clan, while the other extreme Tao Supreme came from the 5 major alien clans. Gu Fei did not directly kill off the 8 great Supremes. Instead, he merely sealed them up. Everything happened too quickly. At this time, the Thunder Supreme's face was ashen. Could it be that the legend of the 9 Supremes could not be broken? You want to kill me when you're only at the extreme Tao? You think too highly of yourself. Gu Fei's voice sounded in the Thunder Supreme's heart. He stared at the Thunder Supremes and walked forward step by step. With every step he took, the entire void trembled. If you want to kill, just do it. Why are you so long-winded? The Thunder Supremes stared coldly at Gu Fei. At this time, he had already lost all hope. Even the 9 Supremes couldn't defeat this guy. It seemed that no one could stop this guy's rise. Haha, I won't kill you. It would be a pity to kill you all. Gu Fei laughed. One should know that these were extreme Tao Supreme. Killing one of them would be one less. Naturally, Gu Fei would not do such a reckless thing. He was going to establish a force in the primogenitor's realm, and there were many places where he needed manpower. Chapter 38:14. Gu Fei battled the 9 Extreme Supremes. If Gu Fei had been an ordinary Extreme Supremes, this would have been a sure-death situation. Unfortunately, Gu Fei was not an ordinary Extreme Supremes. Instead, he was a legendary Extreme Supremes. As such, the 9 Extreme Supremes were out of luck. Who could compete with the 9 Extreme Supremes? Gu Fei directly broke through the joint attack of the 9 Extreme Supremes. He struck out with the ultimate breaking fist and destroyed the 8 Extreme Supremes' bodies. Then, he used the Samsara force to erase the cultivation of the 8 Extreme Supremes and sealed their spiritual souls. Of course, Gu Fei's Samsara force did not really erase the cultivation of the 9 Extreme Supremes. Instead, it was a kind of seal that could be called the Samsara seal. However, the Extreme Supremes trapped in the Samsara seal thought that they had really been forced into the Samsara and their cultivation had been erased. Of course, the Extreme Supremes trapped in the Samsara seal were the weakest and could be easily killed by Gu Fei. Previously, he had killed the Wood Clan's 2nd primogenitor and 1st primogenitor in the same way. However, the Wood Clan's 1st primogenitor was too powerful. He was a supreme of 3 paths and had mastered 3 perfect great paths. Gu Fei's Samsara seal almost failed to suppress him. Gu Fei did not hesitate and immediately put away the Thunder Path Supremes. The 9 Extreme Supremes were sealed in his inner world. It was as if 9 divine suns had appeared in his inner world and illuminated the sky. Master, what are those? In a pavilion in a valley, a little girl raised her head and pointed at the 9 balls of divine light in the sky. She asked a white-robed woman in the pavilion. I don't know what they are either. The white-robed woman raised her head and looked at the 9 balls of divine light in the sky. Her face revealed a trace of doubt. This must be Gu Fei's doing again. At this moment, a figure directly broke through the void and appeared in front of the pavilion. He took a step and instantly entered the pavilion. It's Big Brother. The little girl immediately threw herself into the arms of the black-robed young man as soon as she saw him. Haha, little girl, you've grown taller, Gu Fei said as he patted the little girl's head. Big Brother, you haven't come to see little Ling Xian in a long time, the little girl said with a pout. Is that so? Haha. The black-clothed youth smiled as he picked up the little girl. He was Gu Fei. The white-robed woman and girl within the pavilion were precisely the girl Yin and Gu Fei had saved in the 36th monastery's trial. Gu Fei then brought the little girl into his inner world and handed her over to Yin. Yin gave the little girl a name, Little Spirit Fairy The little girl was about 6 or 7 years old. She was wearing a white dress made by Yin. Because of her cultivation, she looked like a fairy in the forest. Yin treated Little Spirit Fairy as her own daughter, and she was very attentive. Every once in a while, she would bathe in a medicinal concoction made from various kinds of immortal herbs. In Gu Fei's inner world, there was no lack of immortal herbs. It should be known that back then, Gu Fei had moved the divine spring of life from the Hell Dao into his inner world. The spiritual qi in his inner world was much denser than in the ancestral realm. Of course, the only thing Gu Fei's inner world lacked was a perfect heaven and earth great Dao. However, this problem was easily solved after Gu Fei became an extreme Dao supremacy. Gu Fei had mastered 9 perfect great Daos, especially the primordial Dao and the primordial Dao. These 2 great Daos were one of the most primitive great Daos in the world. It could be said that the laws of the world were born from the primordial Dao and the primordial Dao. What Gu Fei needed to do was to imprint the perfect primordial Dao and primordial Dao he had mastered into his inner world. What is that? Why do I sense the aura of the extreme Dao? Yin asked Gu Fei curiously. Haha, why don't you guess? Gu Fei was in a good mood. After subduing the 9 great supremacies, he would have a place in the ancestral realm. However, the waters of the ancestral realm were very deep, much deeper than Gu Fei had imagined. No one knew if there were mythical existences in the ancestral realm. Gu Fei could not let his guard down. However, at the very least, he was not afraid of forces like the Wood Clan. In Extreme Tao Intermediate Stage, Extreme Tao Supremacy was no longer a threat to him. Only existences that had achieved great success in the Extreme Tao or the legendary Extreme Tao mythology could threaten him. How would I know what it is? Yin glared at Gu Fei and said, "Haha, you definitely won't be able to guess it." Gu Fei laughed and said, "Big brother, what is it? Tell us." Little Ling Xian hugged Gu Fei's neck and said coquettishly, "Okay, then I'll tell little Ling Xian Actually, it's not anything special. It's just the divine souls of a few extreme Tao supremacies that I sealed." Gu Fei said nonchalantly. What? Little Ling Xian was still young and did not know what extreme Tao supremacy was. However, Yin was different. She had been following Gu Fei since the mortal realm. She knew very well what extreme Tao supremacy meant. You succeeded in transcending the tribulation? Yin covered her mouth and said with great surprise. She knew that Gu Fei had transcended the tribulation. Now that Gu Fei had returned, didn't that mean that he had succeeded? Extreme Tao supremacy, that was extreme Tao supremacy. Her husband had actually become extreme Tao supremacy, the most powerful existence in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Even if Yin-Er's temperament was very transcendent, and even if the immemorial sacred mountain collapsed in front of her, she would not change her expression. However, at this time, Yin-Er was like a little girl, screaming and jumping in the pavilion. This was absolutely unimaginable under normal circumstances. The 2 maids waiting outside the pavilion were directly dumbfounded when they saw this scene. One must know that the feeling that Yin-Er gave them was too cold. Gu Fei looked at Yin-Er with a smile and did not say anything. Extreme Tao supremacy, invincible in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Just thinking about it made Yin-Er's blood boil. Let's go and celebrate? Yin-Er calmed down and looked at Gu Fei. She blinked and said mischievously, "Yes, I have something for you." As Gu Fei spoke, he took out a jade box from his body. This was a jade box refined from the immortal divine jade. Things that were stored in such a box would definitely not deteriorate no matter how long it was stored. Yin-Er took the box and opened it to take a look. Inside was a dark object the size of a thumb. It seemed to be a medicinal pill. At this time, Yin-Er looked at the pill in confusion. This pill was too ordinary and too inconspicuous. Why did Gu Fei give such a thing to her? Yin-Er also knew that the thing that Gu Fei gave her was definitely not an ordinary thing that could be easily found. He activated his mysterious technique, and under his careful control, the medicinal power of the extreme Tao Dan gradually dissolved in Yin-Er's body. The sound of wind and thunder immediately came from Yin-Er's body. The medicinal power of the extreme Tao Dan was transforming Yin-Er, making her more and more extraordinary. Gu Fei and Yin-Er sat in the cave abode for 3 days and 3 nights. A powerful aura spread out from the cave abode, which shocked little Ling Xian, and the 2 maids. Endless power of the great Tao spread out from the cave abode. The entire cave abode, and even the entire valley, was shaking as if it could collapse at any time. After 3 days, all kinds of strange sounds in the cave abode gradually disappeared. Soon, Gu Fei and Yin-Er walked out of the cave abode. Yin-Er's body was shrouded in an aura of the extreme Tao. "Go," Yin-Er said to Gu Fei. "Yes." Gu Fei didn't say anything else. In the next moment, he disappeared on the spot. No one knew where he went. Big brother left just like that? Little Ling Xian was a little unhappy. She had always called Gu Fei big brother. Soon, the 9 balls of divine light in the sky suddenly disappeared. After Gu Fei collected the 9 balls of divine light, he didn't leave the inner world. Instead, he found a place and started to activate his mysterious technique. He imprinted the Tao patterns of the great Tao into the divine souls of the 9 extreme Tao supremes. He had placed a restriction on the divine souls of the extreme Tao supremes. In this way, these extreme Tao Supremes would never dare to betray him. Gu Fei's hands constantly formed seals. 9 seals rushed out from his hands and directly imprinted into the 9 balls of divine light in front of him. After doing all this, Gu Fei collected the divine souls of the 9 extreme Tao Supremes. Then, he took a step forward and directly tore the void apart. He directly left the inner world and went outside. He didn't want these 9 guys to restore their Tao bodies in his inner world. The Tao bodies of the extreme Tao Supremes were extremely powerful. If they were to be reborn in defiance of the natural order, they would need to consume a lot of essence qi. The essence qi needed to restore the Tao bodies of the 9 extreme Tao Supremes was unimaginably huge. Even if the spiritual qi of the heaven and earth in Gu Fei's inner world was abundant, it would be completely devoured by the 9 extreme Tao Supremes. Therefore, Gu Fei could only bring these guys outside to restore their Tao bodies. If the Wood Race's ancestral land hadn't been destroyed, it would naturally be a good place for the 9 extreme Tao Supremes' divine souls to restore their Tao bodies. At this time, Gu Fei had to find a place for the 9 extreme Tao Supremes to restore their cultivation to the peak. At this time, the extreme Tao aura from the primordial mountain range was still shocking the heavens. The ancient devil Venerable was still fighting with the mysterious old man. The ancient devil Venerable's demonic might was shocking. Even though he had been sealed for countless years, his cultivation and battle strength were still terrifying. Ordinary Supremes couldn't interfere. What's going on? Gu Fei sensed the disheveled old man's aura. Was this guy still watching the show? Gu Fei thought for a moment before he took a step forward and instantly disappeared into the void. When he reappeared, he was already outside the primordial mountain range. Rumble. As soon as Gu Fei arrived, he heard a muffled thunder-like sound, causing his ears to buzz. Gu Fei couldn't help but be moved. The cultivation of the 2 guys fighting in the primordial mountain range was definitely above the first ancestor of the Wood Race. At this level of cultivation, it was extremely difficult to improve further. The ancient devil Venerable and the mysterious old man were rare extreme Tao experts in the primordial mountain range. Boom! The 2 experts continued to clash head-on. Demonic qi filled the sky, and chaotic qi was vast. The 2 extreme Tao-level powers directly shook the heavens and earth. The mighty power ripples shook the surrounding void, causing countless pitch-black spatial cracks to appear. This was the power to destroy the heavens and earth. The extreme Tao Supremes were so powerful that even an extremely stable world like the primordial mountain range couldn't withstand the destruction of their power. Chapter 38:16. Inside the primogenitor mountain range, the war between the immortals and demons caused mountains and rivers to crumble. Stars fell from the sky and shook the entire region. No one knew how many creatures perished in this war. To ordinary creatures, this was definitely a disaster. Countless races were wiped out, and even a small part of the primogenitor mountain range collapsed. Of course, this was the primogenitor mountain range, the ancestral mountain of the primogenitor realm. It had existed for countless years, and was also the gathering place of the Earth's ancestral veins. The primogenitor mountain range would never be destroyed. A small part of the primogenitor mountain range was merely the outer part of the mountain range. Even so, it was enough to shock the various forces in the primogenitor realm. One had to know that this was the primogenitor mountain range, an ancestral mountain that could exist for eternity. Only an extreme supreme could destroy a small part of the outer part of the primogenitor mountain range. However, there was an ancient legend in the primogenitor realm. If the primogenitor mountain range was damaged, something unexpected would happen. The primogenitor mountain range seemed to have a guardian deity. An unknown existence that surpassed the extreme supreme was guarding this mountain range. Of course, this was only a legend because no one would come to the primogenitor mountain range to destroy a small part of it. However, the extreme supreme demon sovereign appeared at this time, and the mysterious old man took action. The war between the immortals and demons erupted, and the location of this war happened to be inside the primogenitor mountain range. When Gu Fei returned, the mysterious old man and the extreme supreme demon sovereign were fighting fiercely. The two Supreme experts were far stronger than ordinary Extreme Supreme. Middle stage Extreme grade? Gu Fei's pupils couldn't help but constrict when he saw this. Any one of these two extraordinary experts was much stronger than the first founding ancestor of the Wood clan. The mysterious old man cultivated the primal Tao. Every movement of his could shatter the void. It was as terrifying as a supreme primal god splitting the world apart. At this time, only extreme supreme existences could watch the battle nearby. The other experts, even quasi-supremes, hid as far away as they could and didn't dare to come close. An existence of this level could kill a peak quasi-supremacy just by casually releasing a wisp of aura. The mysterious old man and the extreme supreme demon sovereign were truly invincible existences in the primogenitor realm. As for the Wood clan's two great progenitors, they could only rule over a region. Invincible? It was just a thought. When I was rampaging through the ancestral world, you were still playing with sand. You actually dare to block my path? You're courting death. This fellow was bad at everything but this. Although this wine looked decent, Gu Fei wondered how it tasted. It's a secret. The disheveled old man laughed. Tisk. Gu Fei drank the immortal brew in the cup in a single gulp. The next moment, he felt a warm current flowing from his throat into his stomach, spreading from his abdomen to his entire body. Gu Fei was a little surprised. This wine was really decent. Even if he drank it, it would still have some effects and the vitality within his body would be even more exuberant. If any ordinary person were to drink this cup of immortal brew, wouldn't they be able to ascend to immortality? Good stuff, right? Haha. The disheveled old man laughed gleefully. He had put in a lot of effort to brew this immortal brew. Anything else? Give me 500 kilograms. Gu Fei licked his lips. The moment he drank that cup of immortal brew, he fell in love with it. What? When the disheveled old man heard Gu Fei's words, he nearly jumped out of his chair. 500 kilograms? Do you think my wine is water, and you can get a few thousand kilograms just like that? The disheveled old man glared at Gu Fei and hollered. He had put in a lot of effort and only managed to brew a few hundred kilograms of this immortal brew. Even if it's not 500 kilograms, a few hundred kilograms will do. Gu Fei replied nonchalantly. No, not even a kilogram. The disheveled old man hollered. Just as Gu Fei was talking to the disheveled old man, the mysterious old man and the ancient extreme demon lord started fighting again. The cultivation and combat strength of these two supreme experts were on par. It wasn't an easy task to determine a victor. However, as the two supreme powerhouses were fighting, a blurry figure suddenly appeared in the sky above the primordial mountain range and stared coldly at the battle between the ancient extreme Tao demon Venerate and the mysterious old man. Scram! All of a sudden, a voice rang out in everyone's hearts. What? Everyone was astonished, especially the extreme grade supremes. Who's that? Someone noticed the figure in the depths of the primordial mountain range immediately and exclaimed, Is that legend true? The primordial mountain range can't be destroyed and it's inauspicious? An extreme supremacy exclaimed, Oomph! You're saying that fella is the legendary guardian of the primordial mountain range? An extreme supremacy said disapprovingly. The legend of the guardian of the primordial mountain range had been passed down in the primordial realm for countless years. However, no one had actually seen the so-called guardian of the primordial mountain range. The extreme supremes, in particular, did not believe this legend at all. That was because the extreme supremes were already the strongest existences in the universe and were known to be invincible. Die. Just as everyone was bewildered, the voice rang again. However, this time, there was only one word, die. In the next moment, the terrifying figure that was still in the depths of the primordial mountain range suddenly appeared in the battlefield between the ancient extreme demon lord and the mysterious old man. Boom! A peerlessly powerful force erupted from the figure, sending the ancient extreme Tao demon lord and the mysterious old man flying away in an instant. What? This time, the supreme venerables who were watching the battle nearby were instantly dumbfounded. Even Gu Fei and the disheveled old man were taken aback, especially the disheveled old man. He spat out the immortal wine in his mouth and almost sprayed it all over Gu Fei's face. What's going on? Where did this fella come from? He's too strong. The disheveled old man said in shock. He stared at the blurry figure in disbelief because it wasn't his real body that attacked. The blurry figure wasn't an existence of flesh and blood. It was an existence that was in between a clone and an incarnation. However, it was such an existence that sent the mysterious old man and the ancient extreme demon lord flying. This scene was simply unbelievable. Swoosh. The blurry figure continued to attack. 2 rays of sword light shot out from his hands and penetrated the bodies of the mysterious old man and the ancient extreme demon lord. Roar. The ancient extreme demon lord roared furiously at the sky. However, in the next moment, he soared into the sky and escaped into the starry sky. The mysterious old man also retreated. He had no choice but to retreat. This fellow was too heaven-defying. He injured him the moment he attacked. He couldn't fight against such an existence. However, the blurry figure didn't seem to want to let them go so easily. He soared into the sky and chased after the ancient extreme demon lord. That figure instantly caught up to the ancient extreme Tao demon lord. Then, with a swing of his sword, he beheaded the ancient extreme Tao demon lord. What a strong fella! Both Gu Fei and the disheveled old man were taken aback. The combat strength displayed by the blurry figure was simply too terrifying. Chapter 38:17. The battle situation in the Primogenitor mountain range was unexpected. No one expected that a mysterious expert would suddenly appear while the Primal Chaos Sovereign and the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign were fighting. Furthermore, the battle prowess displayed by this mysterious expert left everyone dumbfounded. This was because this blurry figure had sent the ancient Extreme Tao Demon Lord and Chaotic Supremacy flying the moment he attacked. This was simply unimaginable to the Extreme Supremes who were watching the battle nearby. One must know that the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign was strong enough to run amok in the Primogenitor realm. As for the Primal Chaos Sovereign, he cultivated the Great Tao of Chaos and grasped the perfect power of the Great Tao of Chaos. He was also a peerless expert who rarely appeared in the world. He was the first ancestor of the Wood Clan. Compared to the Primal Chaos Sovereign, he was much weaker in terms of cultivation and battle strength. However, he couldn't even take one move from this expert who suddenly appeared and fled in panic. Could the legend actually be true? An Extreme Supremacy said in disbelief. The Primogenitor mountain range is inviolable. An older Extreme Supremacy sighed. It was said that the Primogenitor mountain range couldn't be damaged. Once it was damaged, something bad would happen. It seemed like the battle between the Primal Chaos Sovereign and the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign had touched the taboo of the Primogenitor mountain range. At this moment, the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign reattached the head that was severed by the mysterious expert and fled. He seemed to be very afraid of this mysterious expert. However, the blurry figure was like a terrifying primordial divine mountain crashing down from the sky. Everywhere it passed, the vast and mighty energy waves from its body shook the heavens and earth. The mysterious figure directly collided with the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign and directly turned him into a bloody mist. What? Seeing this scene, all the Extreme Supremacy of the Primogenitor realm were directly turned into stone statues. They were dumbfounded and everyone was in disbelief. That was the ancient Extreme Demon Sovereign. He was peerless and powerful. Even in the Primogenitor realm, he would definitely not meet a worthy opponent. However, such a powerful existence was actually turned into a bloody mist by the mysterious figure. This is simply a legend. An Extreme Supremacy exclaimed, "Roar!" At this moment, a terrifying roar rang out. The blood mist that was the body of the ancient Extreme Tao Demon Lord shook violently before turning into a gigantic demonic figure. Everyone thought that the ancient Extreme Tao Demon Lord would fight to the death with the mysterious powerhouse. But in the next moment, everyone's eyeballs nearly dropped to the ground. The devilish projection that was countless times larger than a mountain suddenly exploded with a loud boom, transforming into countless specks of crimson devilish light that shot out in all directions. Blood Demon Doppelganger? An extreme grade sovereign exclaimed. This supreme demonic secret art had long been lost in the primogenitor's realm, but he didn't expect that someone would actually be able to grasp this demonic secret art. The demonic Tao was a large faction in the primogenitor realm, but they were public enemies everywhere. The demonic Tao cultivators in the primogenitor realm were very low-key. The appearance of the ancient extreme Tao demon lord naturally alarmed the powerhouses of the demonic Tao. At this time, the demonic shadow that exploded turned into countless rays of demonic light and rushed out. The mysterious powerhouse continued to attack and destroyed most of the blood demon doppelganger, but a small portion still managed to escape. The mysterious powerhouse didn't chase after the ancient extreme Tao demon lord either. The faint figure retreated into the depths of the primogenitor mountain range. After a long while, everyone finally recovered from the shock. What's going on? The Wind Saint Supreme looked in the direction where the figure disappeared with a horrified expression. Even he didn't know where that mysterious figure came from. Who knows? An extreme-grade sovereign shook his head helplessly. The legend had come true. The news spread quickly and would definitely shake the entire primogenitor realm. It's just a doppelganger, but it's actually this powerful? Gu Fei said in shock. He couldn't help but be moved by the battle strength displayed by the mysterious figure. The disheveled old man fell silent and didn't say a word. At this time, the battle ended and many cultivators turned to leave. The news of Gu Fei's rise would soon reach the ears of the leaders of the various factions in the primogenitor realm. Let's go too, Gu Fei said. Without waiting for the disheveled old man to reply, he took a step forward and disappeared into the void at an extremely fast speed. This guy, the disheveled old man, hurriedly kept his things and chased after him. The ancestral land of the Wood Clan was originally a decent place, but unfortunately, it was destroyed during the battle between Gu Fei and the Nine Path Supremes. Therefore, Gu Fei temporarily settled down in the ancestral land of the Yingtian sect and went into seclusion. He had the idea of going into seclusion when he successfully passed the tribulation. There were many things that Gu Fei had to do next. First, he had to refine his inner world and then find a place for the 9 guys whose extreme-grade Taoist bodies were destroyed to recover their cultivation. He wasn't afraid of these extreme-grade sovereigns because they definitely wouldn't dare to betray him. After all, their lives were in his hands. When Gu Fei returned to the ancestral land of the Yingtian sect, the patriarch of the Yingtian sect came out to welcome him. At that moment, the owner of the ancestral land changed again. Mu Jinghong had already escaped to God knows where. While Gu Fei was battling the 9 Path Supremes, Mu Jinghong didn't even dare to return to the ancestral land. Instead, he escaped into the endless mountains. This was simply like a drop of water falling into the ocean. It was simply impossible for old ancestor Yingtian and the others to ferret out Mu Jinghong in the endless mountains. While Gu Fei was in seclusion in the ancestral land, the entire cultivation world of the ancestral realm was in an uproar. All the cultivators in the ancestral realm were discussing this matter. Although most cultivators didn't recognize Gu Fei, they knew that the 9 Path Supremes had appeared in the ancestral realm. This was a mythical existence. No one who hadn't seen Gu Fei with their own eyes would believe that someone in the ancestral realm had cultivated to the 9 Path Supremes. The 9 Path Supremes had mastered 9 perfect great paths. Since ancient times, there hadn't been many such heaven-defying existences. Someone actually cultivated to the 9 Path Supremes? How is that possible? In an ancient city in the eastern region of the ancestral realm, some cultivators were discussing Gu Fei in a bustling restaurant. They also didn't believe that anyone in the world could cultivate to the 9 Path Supremes. After all, the 9 Path Supremes were mythical existences. This news came from the Jin clan. It should be reliable, a young cultivator in white said after some thought. In the eastern region of the ancestral realm, the Jin clan was one of the strongest clans. It was one of the 5 divine clans, and the progenitor of the Jin clan was a golden sacred sovereign. When Gu Fei underwent his tribulation, the golden sacred sovereign had also appeared. I won't believe it unless I see it with my own eyes. In the restaurant, the cultivators continued to discuss. At this time, countless cultivators in other regions were also discussing Gu Fei. In an instant, Gu Fei's name had spread throughout the entire ancestral realm. How dare you? Gu Fei, I will definitely take revenge for the extermination of my clan. In a cave deep in the southern region of the ancestral realm, a young man said furiously. This person was the descendant of the Wood Clan's supremes, Mu Jinghong. Mu Jinghong had seen the Wood Clan's ancestral land explode with his own eyes. Everyone in the ancestral land had naturally died. Gu Fei, although you are very powerful and I'm not your match, are your family and friends also that powerful? I will let you know what pain and bitterness are. Mu Jinghong's eyes were filled with venom. In order to take revenge, Mu Jinghong would do anything. If he couldn't win openly, he would use underhanded means. Chapter 38:18. Genius in a Second. Remember Love Go Away? To provide you with exciting novels to read. The Shooting Sun Temple was one of the super forces in the southern region of the ancestral realm. It was much stronger than the Wood Clan, and the Temple Master, the Shooting Sun Supreme, was a supreme expert at great mastery of the extreme grade. There weren't many supreme experts at great mastery of the extreme grade in the entire ancestral realm. This was the confidence of the Shooting Sun Temple. Great mastery of the extreme grade, who could compete with them? Gu Fei's tribulation transcendence had shaken the entire ancestral realm, which naturally alarmed the Shooting Sun Temple. However, Gu Fei was undergoing the tribulation transcendence in the ancestral mountain range, so the Temple Master didn't intervene. Now that Gu Fei had killed 2 of the Wood Clan's progenitors and captured 9 Supremes, the Shooting Sun Temple couldn't sit still anymore. The 9 Supremes and the 2 Wood Clan's progenitors made a total of 11 Supremes. This was almost half of the Supremes in the southern region of the ancestral realm. There were less than 30 Supremes in the entire southern region of the ancestral realm. Gu Fei had defeated 11 Supremes, which meant that he was invincible in half of the southern region of the ancestral realm. The Thunder Path Supreme was a mid-level Supremes, yet he was defeated by that fellow called Gu Fei. We don't have any enmity with that lunatic, so there's no need to provoke him. A Supreme who looked like a young man said. There were 13 extreme-grade Supremes gathered in the ancestral hall of the Shooting Sun Temple. Among them, the Shooting Sun Supreme had the highest cultivation and the strongest combat power. The other Supremes naturally followed the Shooting Sun Supreme's lead. Xingchen, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to stay out of this? A black-robed old man said angrily to the young Supreme. That's right. The southern region's cultivation world is being attacked. If we don't stand out, others will think that there's no one left in the southern region. A white-robed middle-aged man nodded and said. The auras of these 2 people were a little special. The black-robed old man seemed to be shrouded in a layer of black mist, making his silhouette blurry. The white-robed middle-aged man exuded a domineering aura. It was the domineering aura of an extreme Tao expert. He merely sat there, but he was like a supreme overlord overlooking the common people beneath his feet. Haha, what a joke. Black Wind, and you, Li Huangji, can the 2 of you represent the entire southern domain? Exalt Star said with a look of disdain. The Black Wind Sovereign and Li Huangji couldn't help being enraged. 2 extreme Daos immediately erupted from their bodies. In the next moment, the entire Shooting Sun ancestral hall trembled. What, you want to fight? The experts who were loyal to the Wood tribe and the 4 great sects were directly killed. The 4 great sects suffered a great loss. The old ancestor Ingtian and the other 3 old ancestors joined forces to hunt down Mu Jinghong. Gu Fei could disregard Mu Jinghong, but they couldn't. One must know that Mu Jinghong was only a quasi-supreme being. With 4 quasi-supreme beings joining hands, would they be afraid of him? Moreover, they had Gu Fei backing them up. However, Mu Jinghong was very cunning. The old ancestor Ingtian and the others couldn't find him at all. The Wood tribe had been operating in the southern region for countless years. If Mu Jinghong wanted to hide, even an extreme great supreme wouldn't be able to find him. While the old ancestor Ingtian and the others were chasing after Mu Jinghong had already entered the primogeniture mountain range. Soon, he arrived in front of an inconspicuous valley. Mu Jinghong didn't enter the valley. Instead, he took out a jade talisman and directly crushed it. Roar! In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar suddenly came from the valley. The entire valley seemed to be shaking, and the originally peaceful world suddenly became lively. Countless birds and beasts scrambled to escape into the distance. While Mu Jinghong was still in shock, a big hand directly stretched out from the valley and grabbed Mu Jinghong, pulling him into the valley. The roar that came from the valley spread far and wide. The cultivators who passed by nearby areas heard it. Some fearless fellows directly rushed in the direction of the sound, wanting to see what was going on. However, just as those cultivators arrived in front of the valley, a divine light suddenly rushed out from the valley and directly swept over. Those cultivators didn't even have time to scream before they were killed by the sword. Even their corpses turned into dust. With a gust of wind, they disappeared in the void without a trace. The cultivators who had just arrived and witnessed this scene were all scared out of their wits. Some cultivators recognized this place. It's the Heaven Fiend Valley, a cultivator exclaimed, then immediately turned around and fled. The Heaven Fiend Valley was one of the many dangerous places in the Primogeniture mountain range. The valley looked very ordinary from the outside, but it was a different scene inside. Since ancient times, all living creatures that entered the Heaven Fiend Valley had never walked out. Some people said that there was a terrifying existence in the Heaven Fiend Valley. Mu Jinghong might have escaped into the Heaven Fiend Valley? When the old ancestor Ingtian received the news, it was already half a day later. The Heaven Fiend Valley. The old ancestor Ingtian and the other headmasters couldn't help but look at each other. Although they were all quasi-supreme existences, they were invincible as long as the extreme grade supremes didn't take action. However, even they didn't dare to rashly enter the famous dangerous place in the Primogeniture mountain range. Unless it was an existence at the level of Gu Fei, because such an existence was unparalleled in the world. A mere dangerous place was naturally nothing to them. However, Gu Fei was in seclusion, so the old ancestor Ingtian didn't dare to disturb Gu Fei. In the ancestral hall of the Ingtian sect, the old ancestor Ingtian sat on the throne in the main hall. At this time, he was having a headache. Mu Jinghong must be eliminated, otherwise there would be endless troubles in the future. Send someone to monitor the Heaven Fiend Valley. The old ancestor Ingtian directly ordered. This was the only thing he could do, because he didn't want to send people into the Heaven Fiend Valley to die. In fact, some people in the cultivation world had already guessed that there might be extreme grade supremes entrenched in the Heaven Fiend Valley. Because there was once an extreme grade supremes who entered the Heaven Fiend Valley, that supreme almost couldn't come out. Although he came out of the Heaven Fiend Valley in the end, he was seriously injured and his cultivation almost fell from the extreme grade realm. Even a supreme was injured, so the creatures in the Heaven Fiend Valley must be extremely powerful. Who would still dare to enter such a dangerous place? The Heaven Fiend Valley was a dangerous place, but why did Mu Jinghong dare to enter the Heaven Fiend Valley? Outrageous. If we catch Mu Jinghong, I'll make him regret being born in this world, Palace Master Shiju said while gnashing his teeth. The Azure Cloud Pathmaster and the Wutian sect ancestor were filled with hatred as well. They were captured by Mu Jinghong and suffered great humiliation. They wanted nothing more than to tear Mu Jinghong into pieces and burn his divine soul in the netherworld flame for millions of years. Only after suffering the pain of having his soul refined could they vent their anger. The Wood Clan is finished. Even the ancestral land has been destroyed. What can Mu Jinghong do by himself? The old ancestor Ingtian smiled and shook his head. At this time, in the Heaven Fiend Valley, Mu Jinghong knelt in front of a black mountain, constantly kowtowing. His forehead was already a bloody mess. At the peak of the black mountain, a black shadow sat cross-legged. It was a man in black. The man in black closed his eyes and didn't pay attention to Mu Jinghong at all. Chapter 38:19. Genius 1 second. Remember if you want to go? Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. While Gu Fei was in seclusion, the entire southern territory of the Primogeniture realm was in turmoil, and there were signs that a storm was coming. This wasn't a good thing for Gu Fei because he was in the center of the storm that was about to erupt. However, he was completely focused on his closed-door cultivation, as if he had forgotten about everything else. Grasping 9 perfect great Daos at the same time, Gu Fei became a living legend in the ancestral realm. Paragons of 9 paths were once the strongest existences in the primogenitor realm. An extreme Dao paragon had once appeared in the primogenitor realm. He was invincible in the primogenitor realm, suppressing all other paragons to the point that they had to lower their heads. However, time seemed to be able to erase everything. The primogenitor realm's 9 paths supremes had already become a legend. However, now, there was actually someone who cultivated 9 supreme beings, grasped 9 perfect great Daos, stepping on the path of unmatched power. This left all of the extreme Dao supreme beings in the entire ancestral realm indescribably shocked. No one was willing to see a truly invincible sovereign appear in the primogenitor realm. However, Gu Fei was simply too powerful. He had killed 2 of the Wood Tribe's progenitors as soon as he became a supreme being, and had even defeated the Thunder Dao supreme being and the other supreme beings. In this way, who would dare to seek death from Gu Fei? Gu Fei had defeated 9 supremes, shocking the entire primogenitor realm's cultivation world. A legend was a legend. Gu Fei was a living legend. One had to know that those were 9 supremes. 9 supremes working together, and that Thunder Dao supremacy was a mid-level extreme-grade powerhouse. Love, go, small, say, netku. Even if the Thunder Dao supremes and the others were to face an existence at the great accomplishment Extreme Dao, they would still be able to put up a fight, and might not necessarily be defeated. However, Gu Fei completely crushed the 9 supremes. Although the other 8 supremes were also at the initial level of the extreme grade, even if they were only at the initial level of the extreme grade, they weren't people that newly advanced supremes could compare to. The combat prowess that Gu Fei displayed caused the eyes of all the experts to pop out of their sockets. A legend was a legend. They had no choice but to accept it. It wasn't without reason that he was called a legend. Gu Fei's battle shook the world. Even those veteran supremes were stunned by him. Even if some of them wanted to make a move, they dispelled that thought. After Gu Fei's shocking battle, the entire ancestral realm's southern region gradually returned to peace. However, Yingtian forefather knew that this was only temporary. Only temporary peace. Many mysterious figures gradually appeared around the Yingtian sect's ancestral land. Ancestor Yingtian and the other 3 patriarchs were all in a heavy mood. There were signs that a storm was coming. Those mysterious figures that appeared near the ancestors' land were obviously the spies sent by the major forces. As long as these fellows did not enter the ancestral grounds of Yingtian sect, Yingtian ancestor would not care about them. However, once these fellows dared to enter the ancestral grounds, Yingtian ancestor would directly kill them. Boom! On the evening of the 10th day of Gu Fei's seclusion, a loud noise suddenly sounded outside the ancestral grounds. It immediately broke the peace of the ancestral grounds. In the next moment, countless figures rushed out from the surroundings of the ancestral grounds. For powerful figures instantly arrived at the place where the noise came from. They saw a black figure fighting with an elder of Yingtian sect. The black-robed man was actually a holy master and was only 1 step away from becoming a quasi-supreme. The elder of Yingtian sect was actually at a disadvantage and seemed to be unable to hold on for long. There were more than a dozen corpses lying around. Judging from the clothes of these corpses, these cultivators were all disciples of Yingtian sect. Seeing this scene, Ancestor Yingtian was instantly enraged. Kill! Ancestor Yingtian roared and directly blasted a palm towards the black-robed man below. Violent power surged from his palm. What? The black-robed man on the ground suddenly raised his head and his pupils shrank. He wanted to dodge, but he found that he could not move at all. Even moving a finger was difficult. He was actually directly imprisoned by his opponent. The elder of Yingtian sect who was fighting with the black-robed man quickly retreated. Boom! With a loud noise, the black-robed man was directly slammed into the ground by Ancestor Yingtian. After the dust settled, the black-robed man had already been blasted into a mass of flesh and blood. Both his body and soul had been directly destroyed. Those who cross the boundary shall die. Ancestor Yingtian glanced around with a fierce glint in his eyes. His voice constantly echoed between the mountains. Seeing this scene, the spies of the major forces could not help but change their expressions. Some people quietly retreated, but of course, Some continued to appear nearby and did not leave. Ancestor Ingtian had Gu Fei behind him. He had no scruples at all. Even if the most powerful force in the ancestral realm broke into the ancestral grounds, he would not hesitate to kill them. This feeling, Ancestor Ingtian had never felt so good, so carefree. Life and death were all in his hands. No one dared to resist, and no one dared to say anything. Compared to the days when he relied on the wood race, this was simply the difference between heaven and hell. Relying on the wood race, Ancestor Ingtian lived in fear. He was afraid that he would offend the great figures of the wood race and that they would destroy the Ingtian sect with one word. Ancestor Ingtian wanted to survive. Although he was a quasi-supreme being who ruled a sect and was the ruler of a region, he knew very well that in the eyes of the great figures of the wood race, he was merely an ant. But now, everything was different. He could breathe freely and raise his eyebrows. Ingtian, you are very impressive. Just as Ancestor Ingtian was feeling proud of himself, a sneer froze his smile on his face. Who is it? Get the hell out here. Ancestor Ingtian was angry, and so were the people around him. Hee, you can't even sense where I am, yet you still dare to be so arrogant? The voice was erratic, and no one knew where it came from. Swoosh! Ancestor Ingtian's divine sense spread out in all directions and instantly enveloped an area of 100,000 miles. However, what shocked him was that he could not sense the other party's existence even with his cultivation base. In other words, the person who spoke was definitely of a higher cultivation than him. Could it be that a supreme being had arrived? Thinking of this, a layer of cold sweat immediately appeared on Ancestor Ingtian's forehead. If the other party was a supreme being, then he was just an ant under the feet of the supreme being. If it weren't for the sake of Gu Fei, I could kill you countless times with one finger. The voice said. This, Ancestor Ingtian, the green cloud path leader, and the others heard this, and their expressions changed drastically. Supreme being, the other party must be a supreme being. A supreme being had finally arrived. The thing that Ancestor Ingtian feared the most had happened. His master was in seclusion, so what should he do? Chapter 38:20. Genius in a Second. Remember to go? Novel Network, to provide you with exciting novel reading. Gu Fei was in seclusion on the ancestral mountain of the Ingtian ancestral land. Only a few of the higher-ups in the Ingtian sect knew about this. With Gu Fei in the Ingtian ancestral land, the Patriarch of Ingtian was naturally very confident. He acted unscrupulously and killed those who dared to cross the boundary with a raise of his hand. He did not bother to ask who the other party was and directly killed him. In his opinion, even if the sky collapsed, Gu Fei would be there. Gu Fei could even defeat the 9 Supremes. Who else in the ancestral realm could be his opponent? However, just as the Patriarch of Ingtian killed the Holy Master who broke into the ancestral land, the voice of a guy who was suspected to be an extreme-grade Supreme Master was heard. What made the Patriarch of Ingtian's heart palpitate was that he could not sense the other party's existence with his cultivation. The hidden person's cultivation must be higher than his. Extreme-grade Supreme Master, the other party was definitely an existence of the extreme grade. Are you afraid? The mysterious voice was heard again. At this time, not only the Patriarch of Ingtian, but even the Blue Cloud Path Master, Palace Master Shurju, and the Skyless Sect Master could not remain calm. They looked at each other with some fear. One should know that the extreme-grade Supreme Master was the most powerful existence in the universe. In front of the extreme-grade Supreme Master, the Quasi-Supremes were actually not much stronger than ants. Without reaching the extreme-grade realm, one would never know the power and terror of the extreme-grade Supreme Master. Don't you know whose territory this is? If you dare to attack, why would you waste so much time talking to us? The Patriarch of Ingtian said coldly as he constantly scanned the surroundings. Since the divine telekinesis could not sense the other party's existence, it was even more impossible to find the hidden guy with the naked eye. The person in the dark did not speak and remained silent. Gu Fei's battle record was simply too frightening. Not even a mid-level extreme-grade expert was a match for him, let alone 1 against 9. Even the 9 Supremes were completely crushed by him. Even if the other party was an extreme-grade Supreme Master, they would definitely not dare to offend Gu Fei. Let's go. Ingtian Ancestor sneered disdainfully, then turned around and left. The Green Cloud Sect Master and the others quickly followed. A supremacy cannot be humiliated. At this moment, the silent voice suddenly sounded. What? Patriarch Ingtian immediately stopped when he heard that. A chill ran up from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. In the next moment, a huge hand appeared in the sky, slamming towards Patriarch Ingtian and the others. An extreme might burst forth from the hand, shaking the surroundings. Old Ancestor Ingtian and the others were shocked to see the giant hand slapping towards them. Roar! Forefather Ingtian and the others desperately circulated their energy to protect themselves. Boom! Old Ancestor Ingtian and the others were directly slapped away by the giant hand and smashed into the depths of Ingtian ancestral land. The cultivators they brought with them were directly shattered in the void, turned into a cloud of blood mist by the mighty extreme-grade power fluctuations, and were directly destroyed in body and soul. Those who could follow Patriarch Ingtian were naturally the top experts in Ingtian sect. Now that more than a dozen of them had fallen, Patriarch Ingtian was probably vomiting blood. Currently, there were not many elite disciples left in Ingtian sect after several major purges. Now that more than a dozen of them had fallen, there were not many elite disciples left in Ingtian sect. It was the same for Green Cloud sect, Tin Absolute Palace, and the Skyless sect. Mu Jinghong had previously killed a group of loyal disciples, and after they regained the position of sect ancestor, they killed another group of traitors. In this way, the vitality of the 4 major forces had been greatly damaged, and they could no longer afford to be tossed around. At this time, Old Ancestor Ingtian and the others who were sent flying by the giant hand directly smashed into the depths of Ingtian ancestral land, and fiercely smashed into the ancestral mountain. The supreme expert in the dark did not kill Old Ancestor Ingtian and the others, which was already merciful. However, Old Ancestor Ingtian and the others were seriously injured, and directly slid down from the ancestral mountain, collapsing at the foot of the mountain. The supreme expert was testing Yi Futyan. When the spies of the major forces outside saw this scene, they were all stunned, because all kinds of information indicated that Gu Fei was now in Ingtian ancestral land. Someone actually dared to make a move here. Was he not afraid of provoking that fierce person? There's a good show to watch. Someone in the dark said. Swoosh. At this time, an immortal sword light directly rushed out from the top of Ingtian ancestral land's ancestral mountain, and instantly pierced through a mountain 1,000 miles away from the ancestral mountain. Boom! Immediately after, a loud noise was heard, and the entire mountain directly exploded. Dust flew into the sky, and rocks flew everywhere. With the mountain as the center, the area within a radius of tens of miles was instantly in chaos. At the same time, a figure broke through the layers of dust and rocks, rushing into the sky, and an extremely tyrannical supreme expert aura spread out. It was a man in black. The man in black turned around and directly broke through the void, wanting to escape into the chaos. However, at this time, the man in black suddenly felt as if the void around him suddenly solidified, and his entire movement became slow. Oomph! A sneer was heard, and in the next moment, a fist instantly hit the man in black. Boom! Amidst the extremely shocking sound, the man in black was directly blasted into a cloud of blood mist by the fist, and a primordial spirit rushed out of the blood mist, wanting to escape. However, Gu Fei would not let go of the existence that dared to provoke him so easily. Gu Fei, who was sitting cross-legged on the mountain peak, stretched out his hand, and the primordial spirit directly flew back to him, then was directly swallowed by him, and directly refined. Come if you're not afraid of death. With the Ingtian sect's mountain of ancestors as the center, a wave of divine will shrouded in all directions. In just an instant, all the cultivators within a radius of 1,000,000 miles heard this voice. This voice was not heard, but it directly rang in the hearts of billions of living beings. Gu Fei is really inside. Someone said in shock. Gu Fei made a move, and directly blasted the supreme expert who dared to provoke him into pieces. A legend is indeed a legend, living up to its name. Someone could not help but exclaim. It was not that the man in black's cultivation was not high, but it was a pity that he encountered Gu Fei, and he even dared to provoke Gu Fei. Was he not courting death? And supreme expert had fallen. This was not a small matter, and when the news spread, it shocked the entire cultivation world of the primogeniture realm. When countless cultivators heard that the extreme Dao sovereign was the newly ascended extreme Dao sovereign, they were shocked. It's that Gu Fei again? Who else could it be? This is too awesome. Everyone in the cultivation world of the primogeniture realm was talking about Gu Fei. Gu Fei had actually killed so many supreme experts. Since when did supreme experts become so weak? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.